The latest info on the PS5 enhancements looks like it will take 30 FPS games and kill them once and for all. With the recent release of Dragon's Dogma 2, I made the case that 30 FPS games have no future. And if the new round of PS5 Pro leaks are to be believed, my prediction looks more likely to come true. It also creates an opportunity for devs to not just harness more power, but to have this fancy classification as well. PS5 Pro Enhanced games could become a very coveted list to be on. I also think a lot of people are jumping to conclusions about the PS5 Pro based on presumptions about GTA 6. We quickly went from folks fearing that the PS5 Pro would be the best place to play one of the biggest games to folks conclusively claiming that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be 30 frames per second everywhere, including the PlayStation 5 Pro. And even if GTA 6 ends up being 30 FPS, I still think it'll be in the minority and that the PS5 Pro will make the death of 30 FPS games a lot more likely. Now, I put all the good information right here at the beginning of the video. It's sort of an opening monologue, and that's because it's a longer video. I do live streams Monday through Friday. If you like that kind of interactive content, it's also safe for work. Hit subscribe and hit the bell button. And if you want into extra content, get to see behind the scenes on how we do all of this, pick that $6 membership tier. It does support the channel directly. A new round of leaks and info about the PS5 Pro looks like 30 FPS games will be less and less common, and hopefully dead entirely. Thanks to Insider Gaming, we have a new insight into what it's going to be able to take for you to get the label a PS5 Pro Enhanced game. And given the market shift in favor of PlayStation this generation, it really could be something that developers prioritize. Not just because it's going to give them better performance, but the marketing advantage it could afford them to claim that your game is PS5 Pro Enhanced. So first, I'm going to give you a quick recap of what we know so far, and then we do have new info from Insider Gaming. So I can sort of tell you what I think is going to happen with this, right? I am going to close by making some predictions about where this will end up, because honestly, I think this is still going to have a pretty big impact and trajectory move on what happens within the industry itself. The first leaks indicated that the PS5 Pro was coming this year, likely in the fourth quarter, and that it would accelerate ray tracing. That was essentially all we heard. Now, if you fast forward to the leaks that started happening this year, we heard that the PS5 Pro was definitely coming, and that getting the increased performance would require minimal effort from the devs because it was going to be using some type of upscaling technology that we were hearing about. Then the dev kit leaks happened, and we got specifics into what is called PSSR. This is sort of the upscaling technology that PlayStation has created. Now, I'm not going to get into the tech specifics again, but a nice jump for the GPU and the memory makes all these jumps in performance possible. Now, what happened recently that is making me say, listen, man, 30 FPS games are thankfully dead in the future. Well, Insider Gaming got new info. And according to them, quote, Insider Gaming has learned of the developer requirements that need to be met to have the PS5 Pro Enhanced label. Now, internally, it is being called the Trinity Enhanced label, but we all know that's referring to the PS5 Pro. And according to Insider Gaming, this is not the first time they have used the Enhanced label. They have used this label before, and their report talks about this, and this is what they have to say. The Enhanced label first made its introduction into the PlayStation ecosystem following the release of the PlayStation 4 Pro, which meant that the game utilized the Pro console's improved hardware to offer improved frame rates and resolutions. Now listen, I'm going to be honest. The jumps in performance and the enhancements, these do seem better this time around. I remember when I got my PS4 Pro, I was a little disappointed in the boost that it offered. Mainly, I was hoping to see a boost to frame rate. I really wanted 60 FPS at the time. I was primarily playing my games on a PC. Now, it seems like this time my wish will be granted, okay? Especially if people want to have the title PS5 Pro Enhanced. Like, if they're trying to target that, they're going to need to do a handful of things. From Insider Gaming, it says, for the PS5 Pro PlayStation, if they want games to offer PS5 Pro exclusive graphics mode, they need to combine PSSR to upscale resolution to 4K, a constant 60 FPS, and or increase ray tracing effects. Now, the real kicker from here is the constant 60 FPS, and the reason for that is simple. Hitting 4K 30 is not something that you would need a PS5 Pro for. So if a game came out and said, oh, we bumped the resolution to 4K, but they didn't do anything with frame rate, well, right now, all of my first-party PlayStation games give me a 4K 30 FPS option. So that's already in the market. You don't need to upgrade to a Pro if you're looking for 4K 30. So if you want to don the PS5 Pro Enhanced label, you're going to have to hit a minimum bump from 30 to 60 FPS along with the 4K, or if maybe you do something with ray tracing, right? I'm glad they're not really requiring that. It's like maybe they do, maybe they don't with the ray tracing. The bump in ray tracing will be subjective because some games don't utilize the tech, or maybe they don't have a desire to do anything more with the ray tracing. They used a certain amount of the suite of tools and then they're not doing anything else. Now the upscale to 4K, if handled by the upscaler, this should be able to ensure that the 60 FPS isn't a problem. Think about it like this. Right now you've got performance modes that are hitting 60 FPS, but they have to lower the resolution. They can lean on the upscaler to raise that resolution, and then you would still be getting that standard 60 FPS output. You would not be having that loss of frame rate. Now, Insider Gaming then made sure to note that the bump on the PS5 Pro is supposed to get this and why it is possible. And this is what they say. According to documents sent to Insider Gaming, this is possible because of faster RAM, 28% faster, and a faster GPU that is 67% larger than the standard console and will be 45% faster. PlayStation says that these combined make the Pro 45% faster than the standard PlayStation 5 and can provide twice the rendering speed of the standard console. So all the presumptive claims that the PS5 Pro isn't necessary and that it's going to run GTA 6 at 30 FPS, I've said this a handful of times. We have been here before. Folks who made a lot of bad predictions about the PS5 versus the Xbox Series S, they're simply trying to do the same thing again. In other words, people are getting ahead of themselves, okay? I know Digital Foundry made like an offhanded remark, sort of an observation that if GTA 6 is CPU intensive, if it's 30 FPS on the PS5, it'll likely be 30 FPS on the PS5 Pro. They were not attempting to deal in FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but people took that and have really run with it, and they're like drawing hard conclusions about, well, the device isn't necessary and it's only going to get 30 FPS in big games like GTA 6. Right? Now, this next bit might work against my hope that 30 FPS is dead, but hear me out. PlayStation is, according to Insider Gaming, PlayStation goes on to continue that games may also be given the PS5 Pro Enhanced label if they offer any of the following enhancements: increased target resolution for titles that run a fixed resolution on the standard console, increased target maximum resolution for titles that run at a variable resolution on the standard console, increased target frame rate for titles that target a fixed frame rate on the standard console, increase the PS5 Pro ray tracing effects. Now, the fact that it says if they offer any of the following is a little concerning. Okay, this could be a case-by-case scenario, since it does say, well, they may be given the label. If you're just raising the resolution to 4K, but you're staying at 30, I don't think that's a good selling point. If something just jumps from that fixed resolution, it may get the label, but that means it might not bump the frame rate. Again, from a marketing standpoint, getting the enhanced label and all you're really hitting is 4K 30, I don't think it's going to sit well with folks who buy the PS5 Pro and they're upgrading from the standard PS5. So I would imagine that PlayStation will be unlikely to hand out the enhanced label just because you decide to bump your game to 4K. I would imagine any game not currently offering 4K would be able to boost the resolution as well as the FPS. So the games in this category are probably older. Maybe they could get the label in the store, and it would be a nice thing if you're suddenly sitting on PS Plus or there's a sale going on and you have that enhanced for PS5 Pro label on your game. So what is my position on all of this, okay? As the thumbnail says, and I've said a few times, 30 FPS is dead. GTA 6 will be one of the few games that can endure it if that's how it comes out, in similar ways that Dragon's Dogma 2 has endured it. Interesting note, Dragon's Dogma 2 sold 2.5 million copies already, which, that's great. But funny enough, I remember when Final Fantasy 16 sold 3 million in a shorter amount of time, and that was only on one platform. Remember when folks said that Final Fantasy 16 was a flop? Well, anyway, I think this will put PlayStation in the driver's seat as the premier gaming console. They can lead from the front. They're not going to be able to just give out this enhanced label unless a company earns it, unless the game truly does something that bumps up from where it was on standard. You need to make it clear that you have the strongest console on the market, and I think devs will respond to this. I know that the same podcast we quoted with GameIndustry.biz when he claimed that, devs were questioning whether or not they should continue to support the Xbox. Well, the devs that they were speaking to were also questioning the need for a PS5 Pro, claiming that we hadn't really tapped into the full power of the PS5. Well, my response to this idea that we haven't really tapped into the full power of the PS5 is, well, what's taking so long? Get to work. The dev kits have been in circulation for the standard PS5 for well over 4 years. We have games and DLCs like Burning Shores coming out that are doing incredible things with graphics and performance, and the PS5 Pro isn't going to disrupt any of that. It'll merely allow for you to raise aspects of game performance that both developers and players want. You want more FPS? You want more ray tracing? You want more 4K? Well, you know what? Feel free. Ignore the PS5 Pro. Don't do anything for it. You can ignore it as a consumer. Ignore it as a developer. Go right ahead. And once games start coming out with the PS5 Pro Enhanced label, and PlayStation's able to market themselves as the strongest console, the premier next-gen console, well, devs and players are probably going to start to think differently than they are right now. We already know that devs are questioning continuing their support of Xbox. Well, a great pivot point would be having a platform that can give you more power and a company that has a vested interest in promoting and supporting these enhanced games. So, I have a few predictions. First, I predicted in the past that the PS5 Pro would be market disruptive. I believe that more and more each time new specs and information comes out, especially after the GDC comments. Well, why? Well, you have devs saying two different things. Some are saying, why bother with Xbox? And they're also saying, what's the point of a PS5 Pro? I believe that the facts will land squarely on both of these questions. I said for a long time that the Series S would drive devs away from the platform, and so would Game Pass and the lack of game sales, and here we are. That's actually happening. We've also heard from some that PS5 Pro leaks, that games are really getting nice jumps in performance. We've already heard this from some of the leaks. I can't see a developer getting their hands on the PS5 Pro dev kit and not saying, okay, I get it now. Because if it's using an upscaler to do a lot of this boost in performance, they're not having to change their pipeline or their development or whatever it is that they're doing. Now, everybody can dismiss the PS5 Pro as they've done from moment one. We were told the rumors were fake. We were told that the PS5 Pro didn't exist, just like we were told that the Q Lite, the PlayStation Portal, didn't exist. We were also told that the Portal was going to be DOA, and it's exceeded all expectations on demand. Well, now we're being told it's not going to make a big difference, and, well, it's not really needed. The same folks that are running with this are the same ones who said that the Xbox Series S would run circles around the PS5. History is going to repeat itself, and it's going to be glorious. Another prediction I have is that this is going to elevate consumer expectations. This has already happened with 30 FPS versus 60 FPS. No matter how much hand-waving people want to do, Gotham Knights tried to keep it a secret. For a reason. People do not want a game that is stuck in the past and is stuck at 30 FPS. We got an apology for Redfall not launching at 60 FPS, which really makes the Starfield announcement about 30 FPS even more interesting. You go from apologizing about not hitting 60 FPS to basically being like, yeah, I guess it's just what our games do now. And then games are adding it later, like Plague Tale. Well, why would you add 60 FPS and performance modes later if it didn't matter? Why would fixing Jedi Survivor's performance mode matter if it just doesn't matter? Just play a quality mode. It matters because customer expectation is moving. The needle on this is moving, and I could not be happier that that is happening. A PS5 Pro will hopefully push the needle all the way over. The last prediction I have is that I've made this one before, and I believe it's happening more and more. We are going to get more de facto or more inadvertent PS5 exclusives or timed PS5 exclusives. And what I mean is, just in the wake of the GDC, 2 different games announced that they would not be releasing on Xbox day and date like they had been planning to. They're going to work on the Xbox version, and they're going to bring it later. So PlayStation's getting free timed exclusivity. Why? Well, because I guess developing for Xbox is either not worth it or too troublesome. Well, I'm sure Phil Spencer will tell you it's not a hardware problem, just like he did with Baldur's Gate 3. My prediction was and still is that this is going to continue. This is likely to increase. A slowing saturation rate for your hardware, lower ratio of game sales, and extra work from the developers to be on a weaker console, devs are going to say no thank you. If they're going to have to do extra work, it's going to be for more features and performance, not less. Why? Well, why would they care about that? Why are they willing to do, I think, more development work for more performance, for more features? Well, that's a value proposition that can help drive sales. Doing more work to gut things out of your game to get it to run on a weaker console, and then you go to the console where you make the least amount of money, that's not a very compelling business offer. And listen, I'm sure there are still going to be games that launch without performance mode or without 60 FPS, and they will probably do just as well as the others have. Like, I think there are games that are just so big, so popular, and in such high demand, Grand Theft Auto 6, Dragon's Dogma 2, but these are outliers. Long-standing games that are simply too big to feel the pain from it, but even Dragon's Dogma 2 is likely falling below sales projections on Steam. It's slowly increasing its score over there, but it's at a 58%. Having a score that low in your launch week and the weeks that follow, that doesn't help your sales. I can't imagine they're hitting the sales they hoped to on PC. And it's not just a 30 FPS game on console, it's a poorly optimized game. And it doesn't support the notion that, well, these consoles just aren't strong enough. If you have to keep running to games as your example of consoles not being strong enough, and they also just coincidentally run like garbage on PC, it just shows that big developers are trying to launch products before they're ready. This has nothing to do with the strength of the consoles. It also doesn't mean that 30 FPS games are not on their way out. I believe that they are. Devices like the PlayStation 5 Pro will hopefully push them off the cliff, so we can finally say 30 FPS is dead. But that's just what I think. What do you think? So let me give you my closing thoughts and conclusion here. This is sort of how I transition to talking to the live audience. We're kind of done with the monologue. The first thing I want to say is the debate about the PS5 Pro being necessary is one that is just going to die with the passage of time, okay? Once it's here and once people are utilizing it, that dialogue is going to be dead in the water. The people that are like, I don't want one, it's dumb. Well, yeah, we'll see if you think that once the games start coming out and tapping in to the power. New technology pushes new capabilities and gets new adoption. That's just how it works. New GPUs, new phones, new TVs, new cars, and if you don't want it, or if the devs don't want to leverage it, go ahead. The market will do what it always does. It'll either bear and support it, or it won't. Given the track record of technology like this, I'm sure it'll be just fine. The second thing I'll say is, be sure to save all the receipts from those pushing fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the PS5 Pro. They did it with the PS5, and they are simply doing it again. Based on everything we have heard, it'll give me exactly what I want from new technology. Better performance, which is exactly what I got from my standard PS5 the last 4 years. I got better performance. Like so many conversations and dialogue lately, the woes of one side keep getting projected onto the market as a whole, and it's tiring having to dismantle all of the falsehood. People are saying things like, well, these consoles just aren't strong enough, and, well, games are trending back to 30 FPS. None of this is true. These are false statements. It's just projection from a side of the aisle that is having to deal with those realities. Weaker hardware and 30 FPS games is only happening on one side, not on the other. My conclusion is this. The PS5 Pro is just one more step in the evolution of the gaming landscape, and I'm here for it. Giving devs more performance to leverage is exactly what I want to see. I especially like the emphasis on the constant 60 FPS. Like, if you want that enhanced label, that's one of the things that PlayStation is looking for. And I don't just want that because it's my preference, but because this could put the debate about 30 FPS being acceptable just right into the grave. I'm so tired of having this debate, and I'll be glad when we don't have to talk about it anymore. But those are just my thoughts. Now it's time to hear your thoughts. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Thank you so much. That is the show open, and I appreciate you being here. Do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, double check that like button. Make sure you have pressed it. Let's set our sights on 200 likes. There's already a bunch of you here. I know you're probably ready to go to war on this, right? If you don't like this or you don't want this, sorry Discord, I thought I unmuted you. I swear I unmuted you. If you guys don't like this or don't want this, that's great. You don't have to buy it. But I also this morning had someone in chat saying that there are like 30 games coming out over the course of the next couple of years that are all going to be at 30 FPS, and that there's already 5 games this year. And I'm like, well, what are those games? And I wasn't provided with any games because that just simply isn't true. Octagon Ocelot, welcome back as a member and a $2 super chat tip. Guys, quick reminder, we're going to start doing shorts just for members, okay? And we did one last night. It'll clue you in to what's going on. So if you get a gifted membership, you might start getting shorts that are just for you. They're just for members. They're public, can't see them, except last night's went public for a little bit by mistake. YouTube's being squirrely, but you will start getting those. And it'll let you know what's going on. It'll also let you know, hey, if you want to see behind the scenes, if you want to see how the bread is made, then upgrade to the $6 member tier. The Writer's Room is an opportunity to not just sort of influence what we talk about or maybe give us ideas for talk shows or video uploads, but you also just get to listen to the process of how a show and a monologue take shape. Like I write it on a board and everything, okay? So consider upgrading. That's something that you get. Also, this Friday night, we're going to start doing something. My wife's going to play games, and we're just going to see what she thinks of it. My wife's going to play Stellar Blade, the demo. I'm sure it will be hysterical. You don't want to miss that, all right? That's another reason to upgrade. All right, you don't want to miss those. Those are going to be fun times. We have a goal right now of 2,300 members, and I'll have to play a Rage game. We'll just bump the Rage game to next week because we want to give her an opportunity to play Stellar Blade. There are also other great ways to support the channel, like the coffee, as well as the sponsors listed below. Always remember that the coffee is not a sponsor. So got all that out of the way. Those are all the various ways you can get involved and support and all the things happening. I want to know what you guys think about this debate. Do you think that the emphasis on constant 60 FPS, like if they want to get the enhanced for PS5, if they want that, they're going to have to raise the resolution, they're going to have to deliver constant 60 FPS, they're going to have to do stuff with ray tracing. Like, I don't think they're going to give it to people just because they decided to bump their resolution, right? Like, I don't think so. In my estimation, going up to just 4K while still being at 30, that's not going to be a selling point. I really don't think so. I do not think that's going to be enough to sell people. They're like, well, I can already get 30 FPS right now. What's this guy saying? 95% of gamers. What's he saying? Most people have 250. Oh, you're saying most people have $200 to $500 Walmart TVs. Where people buy their 4K TVs. I mean, I don't know what the market saturation is of cheaper 4K televisions. You'd have to do some actual market research to make such a claim. Have you looked at any reports? Have you looked at any of the sales charts? I'm not an expert on TV sales saturation, but that seems really presumptive. Victory with the $5 super chat tip says, from your opening monologue, great point about Final Fantasy 16 sales compared to Dragon's Dogma. The dialogue around that was weird. Yeah, apparently 3 million sales on only one platform is a flop, but 2.5 million sales, that's less sales, in a larger window of time as a multiplat. I mean, I thought multiplat games sold more automatically. That's kind of weird that didn't happen. Anyway, $500 Walmart TV is still 60 hertz. Yeah, it doesn't really matter where you buy the TV. Like if you buy it at Walmart or Target or you go buy top of the line from Best Buy, who cares? If it can achieve 4K, if it can achieve 60 hertz refresh, then that's what somebody's going to be accustomed to, especially if they start playing games like Call of Duty and Fortnite and Apex where those are 60 FPS games now. You see what I'm saying? Renab coming in with 11 months says, I love when Twitter engineers say the PS5 Pro is CPU bottleneck. These fools think they know better than Mark Cerny. Listen, I said it during the show open. Thank you for 11 months, Crinab. I said it during the show open. I'm going to say it again. Save all those receipts. There were people doing the same thing. We were told that the Series S was going to run circles around the PS5. Yeah? How'd that work out, right? Now the Series S is one of the single greatest reason for people not putting their games on your platform. The title's bait. The title's not bait. It isn't bait. I believe it. I think 30 FPS games are on their way out. If they weren't on their way out, these companies wouldn't care about having to say their game is 30 FPS. Why would you apologize for Redfall not having 60? Why would Gotham Knights try to hide it? Why would Starfield not include it in the Starfield Direct but do it quietly in an interview later? Why? Because they know that the perception is moving. The consumer is thinking differently. And I believe the PS5 Pro is going to expedite the death of 30 FPS games. I think they're already dying. You know? Well, Joker Quinn with 10 months of memberships and a VIP. It's important to have the option for 30. Some people can't or don't prefer 60, even though they're in the minority. Savage Sharkbite with 31 months. Thanks so much for renewing your membership and 14 months from Whiskey Neat. Thought I'd skip this generation because I built a PC in 2020, but the value proposition of a PS5 Pro is pretty enticing. I can still tolerate 30, but I'm happy we're trending towards 60 FPS as the norm. Thank you so much, Whiskey Neat, for hitting 14 months. Donnie says 30 FPS is dead. My God, I hope you're right. Public outcry on 30 FPS games all the time is reaching a breaking point. It is. Yo, Kronks, thanks so much for renewing your membership. Welcome back. Becoming a curse word, 30 FPS? Right. What if the resolution bump is to a game that's already pulling 60? Then that's fine. I'm okay with that. If they use the upscaler to just... That's what a lot of them are going to do, by the way. They're just going to go into their performance mode and use the upscaler to boost the resolution, and you're still going to get 60. Does that make sense? Like, if basically, the very, very layman's definition of or explanation of how upscaling works is the game itself and the hardware itself, the engine's not working harder to crank out this higher resolution. It's internally at a lower resolution, and the upscaler raises it to look really pretty. Upscaling technology, and I told people this all throughout this generation. I said, upscaling technology is getting better. It's going to continue to get better. And these weird, like, oh, it's not native, it's not native. Frick native. I don't need native, bro. What you watch some videos on upscalers. This guy had a great video on upscalers, and he said, this is native, this is upscaled. And you could tell when it was like a freeze frame or he was moving slowly. As soon as the game actually started moving around and he was doing stuff, you couldn't even tell. You could not tell. Because upscalers are getting better. They are. So it's like if you can upscale the game so your internal resolution's lower, which means the game's going to run way more consistently. You're not wasting basically power. You've only got so much power. I'm keeping this very basic because my understanding is very basic. You only have so much processing power in a computer or on a console. And to use less power while still getting a very pretty image, this is the way. The upscalers are going to become more and more utilized. Thank you so much, Joker Quinn. Han shot first, and so did you. That's the longest we might have waited for a Han shot first. I think Joker Quinn was letting somebody else take a stab at it. First gifted member of the day. If we hit 2,300 members, I'm going to play a rage game, and my wife and I are going to see who can get further. There's a version of Jump King that you can actually play with another person, and we think that's the one that we're going to do. So you're not going to want to miss that. Don't miss that goal. We got to get 2,300 members. The Joker? Did I not say Joker? Joker Quinn? Alex from Digital Foundry once said that the quality of the pixels that would matter rather than the quality of them, if I remember correctly. Oh, rather than the quantity of them. I misread. Sorry. Well, and again, this is one of the reasons all throughout this generation I said people keep getting obsessed over, oh, well, Returnal's internally. And it's like, okay, but the game looks phenomenal. If you didn't have tech experts telling you how it worked, you wouldn't have a clue. You'd be like, oh, it looks great. You only know it's internally running at a certain resolution because you have people that are able to tell you that. Stone Spire gifts another member. Thank you so much for taking us to 2 on the day. And that was something I said. I was like, you're going to be able to get more 60 FPS. Because I remember when people kept saying, they're like, no, Lono, no. 30 FPS is going to come back. These developers like to push the envelope. They like to put more stuff in their games. And I was like, no, man. Upscaling is going to get better. And when upscaling gets better, they can make the game look really pretty. They can put on all this awesome stuff. And you're still going to get consistent frames. Because they're not going to feel that need to just shove the resolution all the way to the breaking point. And that, I think, is the win here with the PS5 Pro. Joker gifted a sub. Yeah, Joker gifted a member. Yeah, feel free to back your claims this morning, GPC. GPC, you got a gifted member from Joker Quinn. You have a gold badge. You've been here a long time. You were speaking utter nonsense this morning. You said there are like 20 to 30 games coming out over the next 5 years that are going to be 30 FPS. You said there's already 5 games this year that are at 30 FPS. And when I asked you what the games were, you couldn't provide me with any. I even did you a favor. I said, well, Dragon's Dogma 2, but that's the only one I know of. Sorcerer with 34 months of membership says, another month down. Keep up the awesome work, Lono. Love the channel and all the content. Thank you, sir. Kronks gifts a member. There it is, taking us to 3 on the day. This is the era of the single gifted member. You guys have been killing it. The big boys aren't coming in and stealing the thunder with the big bombs. You guys have been working it with those single gifteds. Thank you very much. Lono was assuming devs will use upscaling. Is it wrong to assume that devs will use technology that gives them better performance and more consistent performance out of their game? I think that's a fair assumption to make. I don't think I'm making a wild assumption. I think it's a very grounded assumption. It makes sense. It's got a history of development right now where we can see devs will use upscalers. Yo, Gronks with another gifted member. Thank you so much. The double. He does 2 in a row. Thank you so much. The Fortnite players are all at 60, so yes, they will care. Stonespire with another one. That's a 20-bomb temptation layup right there. Such a nice one. We've not used this pop-out in a while. That right there, we'll see, Stonespire. We'll see if you can tempt any of the big boys to drop a 20-bomb. If you guys got gifted a membership, man, get in the Discord. It's a great place. Great place to hang out. Better leave. The mob and chat are going to get you for disagreeing. The mob and chat are going to get you for disagreeing. That's not how we operate here. What are you saying that for? CrossFit Nerd drops a 5-bomb and gets us to 10. Just like that. Going to push us in a nice even jump. Thank you so much for doing that, CrossFit Nerd. And another one from Javier Cotto takes us to 11. You guys are the best. Keep it going. You guys are going to get that. Do you not want to see me play a rage game with my wife? Like, the smack talk will be glorious. Good morning, feed. I see you in the chat. We have been setting more incremental goals for you guys instead of like having just some big, huge goal, like a weekly incremental goal. So right now, we just need to get to 2,300. So we've tried to make it more obtainable. We were setting really big goals in the past, and we decided that it was getting a little too extreme. Clip setup, that's all he's doing. That's all who is doing. Silver Subaru with a gifted member. Thank you so much. The person that said that was a long-time member. I wasn't sure if he was memeing. That's not something that we do here. We don't mob people for disagreeing. I usually focus on people that disagree, right? It makes for a better, I think it makes for a better time. So that we don't just sit here and go, I agree. Do you guys agree with me? I agree with you. I agree with you agreeing with me. I'm glad we can all agree with each other. We're almost at 2,100 members already. We are 22 members away from 2,100. We're already moving closer to that 2,300. The mob in chat asking for sources on a ridiculous claim about the number of 30 FPS games. Yeah, nobody's mobbing. We're asking for you to list the games. If somebody came in here and said, there are 5 games this year that came out at 8K. Don't you think it's sensible for us to say, oh, what are those games? What are you talking about? Isn't that a sensible response? That seems like a very calm and fair and measured response. Someone comes in and makes a claim. There are already 5 games came out this year that are 8K. I'd be like, what games are those? That's not mobbing. That's not unkind. So when someone comes in and says, yeah, there's already 5 games this year that came out that are capped at 30 FPS. Oh, really? What are those games? What are you talking about? I genuinely don't know what games you're referring to. There's 20 or 30 games coming out in the next 5 years that are going to be 30 FPS. Really? How do you know that? What games are you talking about? Have they announced that? Have they said that? Is it in their press briefings? What are you talking about? Did you guys hear about Elon Musk buying Rockstar? That was an April Fool's joke. Anything you saw yesterday on Twitter was likely not true. You got to be really, really careful on April the 1st. I don't agree with the premise here myself. I'm hopeful it's true, but I don't believe it either. Okay, track with my logic on it, Severin. Let's just track the logic. Upscaling technology is getting better. The PS5 Pro is going to leverage its own proprietary upscaler, and the purpose of the upscaler is to raise the resolution without losing frame rate. Like, that's its function. So don't you think that sets a trajectory for the death of 30 FPS games? Because that's going to be the new thing to aspire to. Oh yeah, that upscaler, yeah, the 4K 60 is remarkable. It looks phenomenal. Yeah, that's a PS5 Pro Enhanced game. What's that mean? Oh, it means it has a constant 60 FPS. Do you see? Like, to me, it doesn't make sense for tech to be developed to achieve something and for people to be like, no, yeah, we're going to go backwards. We're not going to get that. What happened to all the people who used to say your eyes can't tell the difference between 30 and 60? So John Linneman had a tweet this morning about apparently people that are really good. Was it people that are really good at winning tennis? They can actually see more images per second or something. I wonder if it literally comes down to the fact that some people literally can't see the difference. Like, they're telling the truth. They're like, no, I can't see the difference. They look at 30 FPS and 60 FPS and they say, I don't see any, that looks normal to me. Maybe they literally can't see it. Maybe it's a brain thing. Maybe it's your eyeballs. I don't know. I personally think when they say it, a lot of the times they're just, they're just being dishonest. Like, when you see those, like, the ball goes past in 30 and it's like dut, 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 and then it goes past in 60 and it's like smooth. Come on, you can see that. Quit telling me you can't see that. Andrew found us with a $5 super chat tip. That's your 5th super chat on this channel. Thank you so much. Can't stop playing Ronin. Could that be a PS5 Pro patch? Could we get a Lono Ronin update? Keep up the great work. I'm at around 22 to 23 hours, loving the game, and I just finished chapter 1, which when they said that, I was like, I just finished chapter 1? Like, 20-something hours? What? And I'm on a new island. I don't know if that portion of the game is shorter. I'm level 22, and I love it. I love the game. I do feel like performance has gone down, though, on the other island. I don't know if they're doing new environmentals or something. There was a level we did where there was fire, and it was terrible. The combat was affected. I was like, come on, man. It was bad. I was very disappointed in the performance. I was getting kind of irritated. I was like, this looks like cheeks. Up until that point, once I get in combat in smaller areas, it's always really fine. But they had like fire and smoke in this building, and it ran like garbage. So that game needs a quality pass big time. They definitely pushed it out before it was ready. They were trying to get both that and Dragon's Dogma landed on the last day of their fiscal year. So it was all about the money. That's why they're both not as good as they should be, or as good as they could be. Eugene says, let me read these 2 comments here. Eugene's getting wound up. He says, so do we generally agree that PlayStation Studios kind of set the standard for video game quality and performance? I'm going to assume yes. The PS5 Enhanced requirements are a signal to everyone else what the PS Studios are doing. The bar has been raised. Right. That's another aspect of this that I think commonly gets lost in these discussions. If devs and games start hitting the market and they're doing something, like, let's just look at games like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, the Burning Shores DLC, Spider-Man 2, and I don't know, we can even look at Stellar Blade. Don't you think developers are going to take notice of that and say, man, we got to figure out how to do that? Like, these games are coming out, they look phenomenal, they're pushing ray tracing, they're pushing graphics, they're pushing resolution, and they're also getting really good performance. We've got to figure out how to do that. You can't expect the consumer, and this is something that I don't think people are necessarily grappling with. You cannot expect the consumer to hop around when it's going to become far more noticeable that, wow, your game just... Look at the response to Rise of the Ronin as an example. It's gotten pretty heavily criticized. Why? It doesn't really look like a next-gen PS5 game. It doesn't. It looks like a PS4 game that's been sort of like given some nice upticks for the PS5. That's what it looks like. It looks like a backwards compatible game where they added some really nice lighting. Because Ghost of Tsushima is a PS4 game and it looks better. The character design looks better. The world looks better. The performance is way better. The lighting in the water is way better, and it's an older game. So it's like, why do you think people are doing that? Why do you think people are comparing? Because they have played something that looks really good. And going backwards, it's more noticeable. Think of it in an extreme, okay? Just think of an extreme example. So imagine going from playing Doom 2016 to the original Doom. You're immediately going to notice all of the downgrades. Well, why don't you go halfway? Play Doom 2016 or play Doom Eternal and then play Doom 3. Right? You're going to immediately notice the issues, the downgrades, the things that aren't as pretty, the things that aren't as nice, aren't you? So that's going to happen in the console, in the gamer hive mind. You're going to get exposed to games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Apex. That's a huge swath of players that are playing games right now every day at 60 FPS. Right? And then we know the attach rate for first-party PlayStation games is really good. So there's a ton of people who have played Spider-Man 2, and there's a ton of people who have played Horizon Forbidden West, and they're like, yo, this looks really good. This runs really, really well. This is awesome. For them to suddenly play something like a Rise of the Ronin, or if other games start coming out and they try this 30 FPS thing, it ain't gonna fly, dude. It's not gonna fly. People are gonna be like, no, that's fine. I've spent the last half of a decade playing games at 60. I literally bought a PS5 Pro on the promise of enhanced PlayStation 5 games that are going to give me a constant 60, but that's fine. Your game can come out and do half of what everybody sort of expects these days. It isn't going to work. You can't just go backwards and ignore the degradation. It's why I stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, I can't do it. My eyes and my brain are like, what's happening here? Something's not right. It almost rejects it. It's like, something's wrong. It's why when you play a game and all of a sudden the frames start acting up, you notice it. You're like, yo, what happened? What's going on here? That happened a couple of times in Hogwarts Legacy. There were a couple environments where the game would hitch really bad. It was really infrequent. Like I played over 30 hours. My wife played like 60 hours. And there was just one or two areas where that would happen. But when it happened, you noticed it. You're not going to boot up some 30 FPS game and be like, well, the human eye cannot detect the difference. No, they're going to be like, what's the matter with this game? And I do think there are a lot of people who just play on quality mode. And I think that more and more that's going to change as well, you know. Mayhap with a big one, a 20 bomb comes in and takes us all the way to 32 members. That is a rollover. You're Agents of Chaos. I don't know if I've ever seen you gift members before. I love when I see a brand new name do it. That's a huge first time gift. And a single comes in from Stonespire. He says, let's keep it going. Keep the chat buzzing. Don't stop. I now owe you guys 5. I will drop that 5 right now. You guys are now well on your way to the goal of 2,300. You're well on your way. I think we just surpassed 2,100. Making it really, really easy. Yeah, anytime you see the animated GIFs or the videos showcasing 60 versus 30, it's just it's just obvious. Helldivers 2 performance mode, a res boost for sure. I'm not sure what you're saying. I think the majority of folks would only notice 30 FPS when it's directly compared to 60. No. I'm going to change what you're saying. I think the majority of folks would notice 30 FPS when they've been playing 60. I think you're phrasing it incorrectly. I think you're correct, JG, that you would say more people will notice when you show them side by side. I think that's fair. But I also think it's fair to say a ton of people are going to notice if they've been playing 60 and they suddenly play 30. They're going to be like, what the heck is wrong with this game? Now, they might not know what it is. They might not be able to tell you. They might say it's clunky or blurry. They might not know what words to use, but they're going to know something's off. Yo, Cloud Strife with 14 months says, I agree 1,000%. I struggle playing Dragon's Dogma 2 after Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's a great game, but I'm like, this judder is horrible and it ruins combat. That right there. But can I get a witness? That's exactly what I was just talking about. Did you ever play Sekiro Shadows Die Twice? Yes, and I've beat it. It's one of my most all-time favorite games. I love Sekiro. Which is one of the reasons I like Rise of the Ronin. Rise of the Ronin feels like Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro. It's like a game in between those two. It's not quite as hard and as punishing as Sekiro, but it's pretty intense. It'll put you on your toes. They'll kick the crap out of you in Ronin. And it's got that more open world, a little bit more action-oriented like Tsushima. It's like in the middle. Oh, I love it. I love Ronin. If Ronin had like the graphics and the performance of like a Tsushima, it would probably grow to be one of my all-time favorite games. Like I'm really liking it. The characters, the story, there's some really awesome scenes and some really cool moments. Darius comes in with 3 months in a VIP. I've been playing on PC for 2 months now. It feels weird going lower than 4K 60 or 120 depending on the game. You're on a FromSoft kick right now? Yeah, I think Sekiro has some of the best melee-based combat in any game in existence. It's fantastic. Guys, if you're enjoying the conversation, man, thank you so much for being here. We have been really, really enjoying all the new faces and all the new names in chat. This is a variety channel, okay? So we cover pretty much everything. I'm also safe for work. So you can hit that subscribe button. You can hit that bell button. I'll be in your feed all throughout the week. People treat me like a podcast. They throw me on in the background. Now, YouTube can be funky, and they won't put my videos on your homepage, or they won't notify you. That's a great reason to become a member and get in the Discord so you get notifications, or follow me on Twitter at Reforge Gaming. Make sure you don't miss the daily shows. It's a great time. It's a great way to spend your morning. And if you want to support directly, become a member. If you get a gifted member, you're missing out on some really great stuff that we do in the writer's room. You get to kind of see, like Creature said yesterday, you get to see how the bread is made. You get to see how we plan the shows and how we sketch them out. That is something that's afforded to you. It's $1 to upgrade, and you get into way more content, including streams on Friday night with my wife. She's going to play Stellar Blade this Friday night. You guys are not going to want to miss that. I'm sure it'll be hilarious. Stonespire gifts another member and takes us to 34. Thank you so much, Stonespire. And another one from Stonespire takes us to 35. And another one from Patrick takes us to 36. And there we go. Moving along. Appreciate the support so much of the channel, guys. Listen, this channel has a couple of sponsors. Into the AM for t-shirts and my glasses. I don't mention them all that often. I don't run ads during the show. You might notice that. If you watch the past broadcast, I believe there's an ad about every 20 or 30 minutes. We think that's fair. That's spread out for a long show, for a 2-hour long show. But I'm not running ads. And I infrequently will mention like the coffee and stuff. You guys sponsor the channel, okay? You are the sponsors of this show with your gifted memberships, your super chats, and your active memberships. We are currently at 2107. You guys got to 2,100 members. Nice job. 2,300 is the goal for this week. They want to have reasons for people to upgrade years to come. GTA will just do it because they want to future-proof. Yeah, the GTA discussion's interesting to me because... And Kardoc Ren comes in with a 10 bomb and says, let's get this member train going. Wanting to see those bigger jumps, and he brings it himself. Puts us 4 away from 50. Thank you so much, Kardoc Ren, for the 10 bomb. And if you guys get a gifted membership, you might start getting members-only shorts. Those real short videos, they might start showing up in your feed. So be on the lookout for those. Little updates on stuff that's going on, stuff that's coming, and what's coming the next day. That's another benefit of being a member. And another gifted member from Stonespire takes us to 47. So the reason that I wanted to do this show, and the reason that I wanted to say 30 FPS is dead, is because you can't stop tech advancement and what it does. Thank you so much, Stonespire, for another gifted member. Hang on the camera switch. There we go. Going back over here and taking us to 48 members on the day. Think of it in the realm of how tech has advanced in consoles over the last, let's just say, over the last 14 years. When did the PS4 release? PS4 release date. What was it? Okay, 2013. Let's just say for the last 10 years. I just want you to think, 10 years is not a very long time in the gaming space. It isn't. Stone Spire with another one. He wants to walk it all the way to 50 on his own. Hopefully nobody steals the glory from him. Just in the last 10 years, think about how much the gaming landscape and expectations have changed. Do you honestly think 30 FPS games have a frickin' future? Do you honestly think that? Andrew Founders comes in and steals the glory and puts us at a 50 out of 50. There you go. You got to be quicker than that, Stone Spire, but that makes Stone Spire the agent of chaos, and he pushes us past 50, which means we have a new goal of 75. I'll give 5 right now. Those 25s are like little milestones, basically. Every 25, I give 5 to the community. Here's the 5 that I owe you. In just 10 years' time, look at the expectation shift and what people expect from games. Look at the games that came out in, let's see, Rockin' Robin gifts a member. Thank you so much. 2013 biggest video games. What are some of the biggest video games in 2013, right? You've got Gears of War Judgment, Call of Duty Ghosts. You got Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Grand Theft Auto. That was a great year. This was a really good year for games. The first Path of Exile, Dragon's Dogma something. Dark something. I can't see the full name. Okay? Now I want you to think about the graphical difference between Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. All right? Just in 10 years' time, look at the jump between those two games. Let me bump the line. I forgot to add the 52. We're now at 52 members on the day. Guys, nice, strong day with gifted members. I appreciate it so much. Look at the graphical performance and the appearance of Grand Theft Auto. Just look at those games and look at how significant the jump has been. It's only been 10 years. A little over 10 years. We are in 2024. Just 10 years time. So what do you think's going to happen when a PS5 Pro drops and over the next 4 or 5 years games start harnessing that power? What do you think's going to happen? You think people's expectations are just going to stay where they are? They're not where they are. They're not even where they used to be. Why? A game like Rise of the Ronin comes out, and what's one of the main talking points? Doesn't really look like a next-gen game. It's been criticized. It doesn't have the greatest of scores. And a lot of it can be attributed to the performance. It doesn't run all that well in the open world areas and the towns. And it doesn't look all that great. It looks fine. It looks good. But it doesn't look like some next-gen tour de force. If you were trying to show somebody how great the PS5 was, and you were trying to tell them, like, yeah, dude, we got some of the best graphics, you would not show them Rise of the Ronin. You would show them Burning Shores. You would show them Spider-Man 2 or Ratchet and Clank. Those are the games you would show them. You wouldn't show them Rise of the Ronin. That'd be like the last game that you would show them. GTA 5 eclipsed like 3 generations, though. The point I'm making is, don't zero in on GTA 5. The point that I'm making is, just 10 years ago, in 2013, if you go back and look at how, the graphics in Assassin's Creed Black Flag or Gears of War Judgment, go back and look at some of the big mainstay games, some of the biggest games that came out, and compare them to games now, it is undeniable that expectations have gone up. You simply cannot stop that from happening. Try and release a movie or a TV show right now in 4:3 perspective. Just try and do it. See what the reception's like. See what happens. Yeah, we got a brand new game. We got a brand new TV show coming out. Can't wait for you guys to see this. It's going to be in 4:3 aspect ratio. You're going to have black bars on the sides. We really feel like this encapsulates what we're trying to do. Now, if you were trying to do some kind of an homage to, something like the Twilight Zone or something, you might get away with it. But I think eventually people will be like, yo, can you fill the screen, please? That was my only issue with watching Star Trek The Next Generation. Like, we went and rewatched it all. It was like, oh my gosh, are they ever going to fill my screen? Are we going to get to season 3? Are they actually going to fill my TV screen? Like, if you go back, people are going to say, yo, what are you doing? Why does it look like this? Why are you doing this big, highly produced, you got explosions and high action sequences, and you got a 4:3 aspect ratio? What's going on? Why are you doing that? X-Men 97. I've not watched X-Men 97. If that's in a 4:3, I think that's different because it's a cartoon and it's attached to the nostalgia of the original show, The Uncanny X-Men. I don't necessarily think that's indicative of the market bearing shows and movies going back in time on what they look like. You wouldn't accept it. Red Dead is still at 30 frames per second on PS5. Prove they don't care what you expect. You just cited an old-gen game that hasn't bothered to go back and bump itself up to 60. They were planning on doing it, and they decided not to. That has no bearing on the argument whatsoever. That's an old game. Old-gen games that have decided it's not worth the trouble to go back and bump themselves up to 60 isn't proof of anything. X-Men 97 looks great. Is X-Men 97 4:3 ratio, or is he just making stuff up? Or did he just give that as an example? I mean, cartoons are different because you expect certain cartoons to look a certain way. There's artistic style within cartoons. It doesn't need to look like some high-definition Pixar movie. It can look like a 90s Saturday morning cartoon, and that's okay because that's what they're going for. I refuse to buy Red Dead 2 till it has a 60 FPS patch. I mean, they're just not going to do a 60 FPS patch. They basically all but said that, didn't they? Weren't they working on it? And they were like, no, we're not doing it. It's not 4:3. Okay, I was going to say, that'd be so weird. It'd be so weird to release a show right now and do 4:3. I was like, I guess if they did it with X-Men, they might be like, yeah, this is a tribute to the classic show. But I'm like, what the frick, man? Fill the dadgum screen. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, the Snyder Cut was 4:3, and I hated it. Eugene says, I refuse as well on Red Dead Redemption 2. Let me ask you something. Do you honestly think if they did a Red Dead Redemption 2 remaster or director's cut, and for $10 you could upgrade your Red Dead Redemption 2, or you could buy a version of Red Dead Redemption 2 that came with some updates? Maybe they go in and spruce up some of the lighting and textures. It's already a beautiful game, right? Just a little nice little touches, and then they give you 60 FPS. You think that would sell well or no? Do you think it would sell well? The remastered version of The Last of Us 2 was in the charts, so I have to believe that Red Dead Redemption 2 would also be on the charts. You're kidding yourself if you think that they couldn't come out with that and make a buck. They would. They would. That game's almost sacred in many people's minds. And for them to come out and be like, yeah, we have a Red Dead Redemption 2 Complete Edition or Ultimate Edition or Director's Cut. You missed something? I missed something? What did I miss? No, I didn't miss anything. Stonespire was the Agent of Chaos at 51. Rockin' Robin was the next, 52. Well, we're in the right place. I don't see a super chat. You think GTA 6 will be 60 FPS on the Pro? I do not have a prediction there. I just think people are getting ahead of themselves. Digital Foundry makes the observation that if, this is such an important word in the English language, if GTA 6 is CPU intensive and runs at 30 FPS on the PS5, it will then also likely run at 30 FPS on the PS5 Pro, given how the technology works. They are making a very conditional prediction based on what we know about the PS5 Pro. If you have a CPU-intensive game, you're not going to get a big boost on the Pro because the Pro is leveraging upscaling technology and a stronger and faster GPU and faster and stronger memory. It's leveraging that to get you an upscaled resolution and more consistent frames per second so that they can be like, yeah, this game is 4K 60 now. If you're Dragon's Dogma 2, it ain't gonna matter because Dragon's Dogma 2 is CPU bottlenecked. So the PS5 Pro ain't gonna do much there at all. This is why some people were reporting that when they were playing Dragon's Dogma 2, they're like, I'm turning down all the graphical settings and it just doesn't matter. It doesn't make much of a difference at all in the performance of that game. Why? Because it's not bucking up against your GPU. It's hitting a bottleneck on the CPU, and you can't go in and tell the game to not do that. You can't go and say, "Oh, don't do that." There's not a way for you to do that. So if a game is CPU bottlenecked, it's not going to benefit from the PS5 Pro. So yes, if all of those things are true about GTA 6, it will likely be 30 FPS everywhere. It's one of the few games that could get away with that. Let me ask you something. Do you think Dragon's Dogma 2 is getting away with it? 2.5 million sales in a longer window of time. Final Fantasy 16 sold more than that on one platform in a smaller window of time. You have to see that the score on Steam is affecting Dragon's Dogma sales. To argue against that would be absolute lunacy. Steam is a great big platform, and the PC audience is large. And if you don't think that game's abysmal score in the launch week, and it's still bad, if you don't think that hurt the score, if you don't think that hurt the sales, you're dreaming. It definitely hurt the sales. If that game would have come out at a 90% on Steam and was hailed as a highly optimized dream, more sales, guaranteed. No doubt in my mind they would have had more sales. Gee, isn't it interesting? It's so funny how, man, it's almost like multi-plat games tend to struggle with performance and bugs, like we've said before, right? And a single platform game outsold it. I wonder if there's any correlation or any relation there, at all. Clip that. They bumped GTA 5 to 60 FPS because it's their milk cow. Well, and I think that the way that Eugene phrased it was, why would they go back and basically do all that to GTA 5, bump it to 60, get their player base accustomed to 60, and then drop a 30 FPS game? Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, and I elaborated on that argument. I said, well, also you got to consider maybe going back into GTA 5 and bumping it to 60 was an experiment that they wanted to do. Maybe it was an experiment. Can we get a game of this size with this much going on and this much AI? Can we get it to run 60? And they did that to learn tricks for GTA 6. Like, do you see what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not telling you it's going to be 60 or 30. I'm not making that prediction. I'm simply saying people are getting way ahead of themselves. They're getting way ahead of themselves. Because they did the same thing when they had limited information on the PS5 specs, and we had people saying that the Series S was going to run circles around the PS5. Do you want to know how inaccurate that statement is? I mean, it's embarrassing. We're in the same cycle right now. It's the cycle of FUD, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Just these FUD merchants out here. It's going to be 30. It's not going to be a big jump. It's going to be bottlenecked. What's not even necessary? Great, sure, awesome. Say all of that, please. Say it louder. Tweet more often about it. Make more videos about it. Because this thing is going to come to market, and you'll be just as silly looking as you were when you said the Series S was going to run circles around the PS5. And your credibility and your relevance will just continue to plummet because people will eventually figure out that you're not saying anything worth listening to. Can you clarify something for me? Is it realistic to expect native 4K and stable 60 from the base PS5? No, and we were never promised that. Expecting native 4K 60 is silly. Try and get native 4K 60 out of a PC, and then come back and report to me how almost 95% of the PC landscape can't do it. The average person's PC can't do it. Your PC could be significantly stronger than a PS5, and you're not even going to attempt to run native 4K 60. Native 4K 60 is not at all something that people set their sights on. It isn't. You either do dynamic resolution, or you do some type of an upscaler. Like, nobody is out here saying, oh, I should get native 4K 60. This is something that people say because that's what they thought they were going to get. I mean, if you go and watch some of the Xbox marketing, I mean, they were throwing around terms like that. But native 4K is a fool's errand. There was never a time where that was my expectation. I was like, I'm going to get native 4K. Now, there was a time where I said, I thought we were promised native 4K. I thought some of the marketing said native 4K. And people explained to me how it works. So like, most of the time, you're not playing a native 4K game. You're playing something that is upscaled. 1% PC squad being completely dismissed. I see how it is. Yeah. If they get mad at me, I'll be okay, Zubair. I could see a game getting a 40 FPS, 120 hertz mode and being accredited as enhanced. I wouldn't necessarily call foul. I think it's going to be a whole lot easier to market 4K 60. I think it's a whole lot easier to market, Eugene. You can't get native 4K at 60 with a 4090 and an i9 processor. I think there are some games on a rig that strong that could do it. It comes down to the game sometimes. It really does. But native 4K is a fool's errand. It's why some of the earlier marketing for the Xbox, many people were questioning if it was even accurate. They're throwing around the word native 4K. What the heck? At the time, that was in 2020, by the way. That was 4 years ago. And even then, people were like, what? Native 4K? There are videos back then about how good upscaling was becoming so that you could get a 4K game that wasn't actually running internally at 4K. Yo, PWH now with a $5 super chat tip says native 4K 60 on a console and keep it under 500. We have got to temper expectations and start being rational. Well, listen, it's hard to blame people when they're not educated about it, P-Dub, because I wasn't educated about it. I didn't know how it worked either. When I entered the landscape of commentating about consoles and about hardware and about performance, I didn't understand how it worked. And I remember watching trailers, and I remember seeing advertisements that said 4K 60, native 4K 60. I remember seeing it. I remember that being like a thought. I was like, native 4K? Oh my gosh, what? That sounds amazing. And then games started coming out, and I was like, we're not getting native 4K. And I had people educate me. They're like, yeah, that's not really the goal. The goal would be to upscale. So I wasn't educated on it either. And I think that's part of the problem, is a lot of consumers and gamers have no idea. They're like, yo, bro, I saw some trailers and they were saying native 4K. Where's all my native 4K? And it's like, well, they shouldn't have said that. Number one, there's a reason that they've set that video to private on the official Xbox channel, because it's more than puffery. It's just not true. It's not like marketing puffery where like the burger looks perfect in the picture and it's a little smashed when you get it. They showed you a burger in the picture and they gave you a chicken sandwich. Like, it's not even the same. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't what? A better analogy would be they showed you a burger in the picture and then it ended up being like an impossible burger, like it wasn't real meat, right? It didn't quite deliver on what you thought you were going to get. Like, oh, I'm going to get native 4K. Well, you're going to get upscale. I'm going to get a nice big juicy burger. Well, it's going to be vegan. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was more than just like puffery. It was like, this isn't true. It's why the video is set to private. Have you ever seen a company do that? Like, yeah, we said we're going to give you an 84K and all this other stuff, and we've just decided to set that video to private. You know, it's always good to get SEO top of mind marketing and search engine algorithmic dominance, and just set the video to private. Like, nobody would do that, bro. You're not going to find any game developer or hardware manufacturer that's setting a frickin' video to private that was marketing their product. This is a tasty burger. That's right. GTA 7 was doing native 4K at launch. Okay, but I feel like every time I've heard that claimed about GT7 and Forza Horizon, when we press on it, isn't it dynamic? Like, does it maintain? I'm not an expert in either of those games, but I feel like every time that claim gets thrown out, there's like 3 asterisks attached to it. It's like, well, Gran Turismo 7 does 4K 60, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Same thing for Forza Horizon. It's like, yeah, we got native 4K 60. And then you go look at it and you're like, well, yeah, I mean, but not really. And no other game's doing it anyway, so does it really matter? Like, are there any other games doing native 4K 60? GT7's doing native. Is it doing dynamic resolution? Is the resolution staying at native 4K, or does it go up and down? Are there moments where it hits native 4K and does it drop, or does it stay locked native 4K the entire time? If that's the case, then that's absolutely incredible. But it's a racing game, which I think helps. Smaller scope of what needs to be rendered and displayed. It's impressive, but it's also not. Yeah, because, you know, a racing game, native, sure, 60, not so much. Yeah, how much is VRR helping there? Like, does it actually maintain 60 as well? Depends on the mode. Right. See how specific we have to get? It's like, well, we got to go to this game, and it's native 4K 60, but, like, you know, it depends on the mode. It is just a racing game. Like, in general, the expectation of native 4K, listen to me now, listen to me, the PS5 Pro has not even remotely set its sights on that. Look at all of the documentation, all the specs, all the internal leaks. It isn't interested in that. And that's something people need to understand, is that they are not interested in native 4K because it's a fool's errand. Why would you strive for such a resource power consumption hog when you can achieve the same thing, in essence, with an upscaler? Do you see? It's like you're going to just gobble up all of the power of the console or your computer, fighting for native 4K. Brother, an upscaler, and you can't frickin' tell the difference. The only people who can tell the difference are the ones who, like, freeze frame it and get their glasses, and they're like, oh, yeah, you see that? The edge of that rock is a little bit smoother. Native 4K is beautiful. Shut up and just play the game. Upscalers do a magnificent job. Excuse me, sir, is this watch waterproof? Yes, so long as it's not raining and you don't put it in water. Resident Evil 7, RE2, and RE3 on PS5 and the Series X have native 4K modes. Right. But again, yeah, exactly, Eugene. Those are last-gen games. If I don't need to adjust my glasses, jerk. If you think that the goal going forward is native 4K, I don't even know if that would be the goal of the PS6. I don't think it would. Do you want to know why? They're going to spend the next 6 or 7 years getting even better at this PSSR that they created. Do you remember the stats that we read? How they talked about the PSSR had targets that they weren't even going to hit with the PS5 Pro? Ooh. Who do you think those targets are for? The PS6. So the idea is that the PSSR is not just being created for now. It's an upscaling piece of technology that is being developed and harnessed and improved over the years for the PS6. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're like, we're not really worried about native 4K. The upscaler can do so much. It's so much better. Can you imagine a game with an internal 1440 upscaled to 4K, rock solid 60, and then they can give you, like, I don't know, they were talking about, 4K 120 on the next iteration. 4K 120. Don't you think it's interesting what they're bumping? Let me find the Insider Gaming. Let me find it. There was one Insider Gaming that talked about that. It talked about how the PSSR technology wasn't just for this. There were targets that went well above. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody try and find me the article that outlined it, because they said that the targets of the PSSR was this, but they'd only be hitting these targets on the Pro. Hang on. Can you search their site? Does Tommy Boy? Yeah, he does. He has a search for their site. All right, PS5 Pro. All right, let's find all their articles on it. There was one that specifically talked about this. All right, there's what are the specs. There's this one that it's real. I want to find the exact phrasing that was used. Nope, that's not it. There's one that outlines the PSSR specifically, and I can't find it. They've done so many articles on it. I think what they're trying to do is they're kind of trying to blitz the SEO. I can't find it. There was one that specifically outlined the PSSR, and I'm having a hard time finding the article. No, wait, I might have found it. Hang on, I might have found it. Aiming at 4K. Okay, here we go. I'll show you the article and everything. We're professionals here. There we go. So, outline in documents provided to Insider Gaming under the condition that they would not be made public. PlayStation's ambitions with the PSSR is to achieve 4K 120, 8K 60. Okay? Do you notice something here? 4K is staying right down here. What's their goal with the PS5 Pro? 4K 60, 8K 30. Then you come up here. Their ambitions are 4K 120. 8K 60. Isn't it interesting that the thing that they're pushing is frame rate? That tells me they're not trying to do native 4K. They're not. They're trying to use the upscaler to increase frames per second while still giving you those resolutions. This also is more proof that 30 FPS is dead. It just hasn't like actually gone into the grave yet. It's dead. If this is the ambitions of one of the hardware innovators in the market, then 30 FPS is dead, bro. Upscaling is going to get better. Technology like this is going to improve, and they're going to be able to give you a 4K game that runs immaculately well. Why? Well, they're upscaling. They're not giving you native 4K. Now, 8K 60... I mean, I could see maybe on this, they run it internally 4K and upscale it. I don't know. I would be very curious what they're doing to achieve 8K on the technology side. Like, I can't wait for all the Digital Foundry breakdowns. It's going to be really, really cool. Sony's telling everyone where they're going. Yeah, you can't have your market leader, you can't have your premier console leader out here running these types of numbers and these types of ambitions and being like, oh no, yeah, 30 FPS, we're going to get more 30 FPS games. I don't know what you're talking about. It certainly doesn't look that way to me. Certainly doesn't look that way to me. Looks like we're leaving 30 FPS in the dust where it belongs. 8K is a pipe dream? Why? Why is 8K a pipe dream? Wired rope. Fast forward 7 years from now. Why is 8K a pipe dream? Don't you think like 6 years ago 4K seemed crazy? Like the PS4 Pro was trying to do 4K for some games, and it seemed stupid. I remember at the time being like 4K is dumb, and now 4K is everywhere. 4K televisions, 4K quality modes in games. I mean, come on, man. 4K seemed ridiculous, and now it's commonly an option in games. Yo, Sven, with 33 months in a VIP, maybe Microsoft will put Hellblade 2 on PS5 so the PSSR can enable it to run at 30 FPS, but don't worry, it'll look really pretty. Shut the Sven, I'm trying to be nicer in my streams. I'm trying to be more kind and approachable, but you're coming in here with, that's an act of war. That's to bring that game up and to say that. 30 FPS isn't dead, it just smells funny. It's crazy how technology is constantly moving forward, but we're shocked that 30 FPS is dying. Make it make sense. Hey, Lono, did that guy ever tell you the list of games that are going to come out that are be at 30? No, he never once provided me with the list of the, what did he say, 20 games, 30 games? And then he said 5 games came out this year already at 30. And I said, oh, what are those games? 8K is unnecessary beyond its use as a marketing term. I don't think my eyeballs could see the difference at 42 inches and under. Well, I think there is a strategy involved there that could potentially line up with, I could see it lining up with televisions that they want to sell. Does that make sense? I could see it centering around televisions that they want to sell. Like if they're out here trying to push 8K televisions and then they just so happen to have hardware that can do that. Guys, by the way, thanks for a huge turnout today. I have an upload coming later today about Phil Spencer. People are arguing that he killed Xbox. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, okay? I'm going to engage with that mentality later in an upload, so be on the lookout for that. If you leave the stream or come back, we'll redirect you guys to that. That'll be probably in about an hour. Make sure you have smashed the like button. That helps this video. It's free to do it. Hit the thumbs up. It helps this video find more people. Thank you to everybody who has found the stream today. And we are currently working on a 2,300 member goal. We currently have 2128. You guys are well on your way. I've already gifted the members that I owe you guys. We've already hit 52 members. So I've already gifted 10 members to the community. That is a great way to support the channel directly. And if you get a gifted member, you can upgrade for $1. And you can get into what we call the writer's room. The writer's room is not just about helping plan the shows. You get to listen to how we break a show down, plan it out, the thumbnail, the actual outline of the monologue. You get to see how the bread is made. So consider upgrading. It supports the channel directly. We need more people who are actually on that membership tier paying for their own membership because you sponsor the show. I don't run ads while I'm live. I'm not sitting here like constantly holding something up and doing sponsor this, sponsor that. Usually once, maybe twice a month, I do that for Into the AM. You guys sponsor the show. So thank you for that continued support of the channel. We are currently, continuing to grow our sub base. We're not a particularly large channel, right? We just hit 36,000 subs recently, and we do this because of you guys. Channels this size typically cannot do this full time. It just isn't possible. It's not feasible. And you guys make it possible. It's only April. There's a ton of games coming out before 2026 that will be out 30 FPS. No magic trick's going to change that. Okay, GPC, tell us the games. No hate. We are not attacking you. We would like information. You've now made a claim again that you made earlier, okay? I would like to know what games you're referring to. You said that there were 5 games this year that had already come out at 30 FPS. What are those games? Well, I've already said Dragon's Dogma 2. What are the rest? What's this litany of games that you know are coming in the next 2 years? Where did you get this information? Where'd you get your information? What are the games? These are questions that need to be answered when you make a claim such as the one that you have made. So back up your claim, please. If not, you're just saying something random. That would be like me saying there's a ton of 8K games on the way. There's a ton of 8K games that have come out this year. What games, Lono? I'm not going to say. What? It should be pretty easy to say. I see at least 10 years before 8K becomes relevant, even longer before they truly focus on it in gaming, unless the GPUs start packing a real punch by then while staying relatively budget friendly. I'm telling you, Toasted Notes, upscalers. Upscaling technology. Upscaling technology. I'm going to keep saying it. It's going to get better. It's going to keep getting harnessed. DLSS is getting crazy. AI technology and upscaling technology is going to continue to improve. You are not going to need this insane amount of raw power to get 8K. You're not going to. Not going to be a requirement. He has no answers, no games, no proof. That's what I'm saying. You should be able to provide us with a couple of games. What are these games? What are they? Shouldn't be that hard. Should be very easy to just type up a couple of names. Project Jade and Red and more. All right, I'm moving on. I'm not going to get one guide by somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about and just cited games we know nothing about, one of which might even be a canceled mobile game. So we're going to move on. Not getting one guide by somebody who's lying. It's a waste of our time. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do this, actually. I don't want you to get gifteds anymore. I don't want you to get gifteds anymore. That's my policy now. Yeah. If you come in and you lie and you disrupt chat and that's what you bring to the table, I would rather you not be able to talk in chat because you're going to get gifted members, and I would rather that go to somebody else. That's my new policy. So I want people's hard-earned money going to people that deserve it, and you don't. So let's move on. I sure hope so. Even DLSS 3 things get muddy really, really quick. Well, yes, but again, it's getting better, right, Jake? Like, they're going to continue to iterate, improve, and refine that kind of technology. Don't you understand? Like, that's my point, is technology doesn't stagnate. It simply can't. It's just not possible. It's like a shark. It's always moving. It's always moving forward. It is. So if you're going to like, and there we go, Stone Spire. Yeah, let's just replace that member with another one. Let's just get somebody else in the door. Thank you so much, Stone Spire. Every 25 I get 5, guys. We're moving even next to the next one here, 75. Thank you so much for that, Stone Spire. But he probably had all games typed up. No, he was given multiple chances to answer, and he didn't. And then he answered with just more nonsense. So I'm not doing that. Not getting one guide anymore. The chat and the people watching right now, there's over 600 people watching. They deserve better than that. I'm not getting one guide anymore. I respect the listeners far too much to get drugged down into the mud by these dum-dums anymore. Just not worth it. He's so mean and name-calling. Oh, okay. If that's the worst I say, then I think we're doing okay. I don't think technology can stagnate. I don't think these upscalers, I don't think this AI technology is going to just sit still. It's going to get better. It's going to improve. It is. Every 25, Lono bans somebody. Every 25. That's right. That's right. They're called Trust Me Bro, and Trust Me Bro 2, and Trust Me Bro Redux. That's right, Liquid Smoke. Switch isn't relevant in this conversation? Oh, yeah, if you're going to cite a bunch of Switch games, then you're basically just arguing in bad faith. You're just a liar in disguise. You're acting as if you want to have a real discussion, and you don't. You're just being dishonest. Anybody citing Nintendo Switch games, that's ridiculous. Come on. Oh, you were joking. He was talking about the Switch. Yeah, get out of here with that. Like, my daughter's playing Princess Peach right now. Sure, of course. It's 30 FPS game on an old piece of technology that's portable that came out in 2017. Like, come on. Come on. What are we even talking about here? Raven says April Fool's is over. That's right. Every 25 I ban 5. That's right. Lord Finesse gives a member and takes us to 54. Round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. Every 25 members, we're gonna ban 5. We're gonna ban 5 people. That would be like the most backwards way of growing a community. Like, yeah, guys, we're just gonna ban somebody every. Thank you so much. There it is, Mariko. Mariko Sama takes us to 55 out of 75, tempting that 20 bomb. Stone Spire makes it a 20 bomb Agent of Chaos. It's now 56 out of 75. We'll see if anybody takes the bait and drops a 20 bomb. Super Earth is now recruiting Skull Admirables. We have raised our level cap to 150. Yeah, I tried to record a patch notes video this morning, but we ate up a lot of my monologue writing time yesterday. We were brainstorming about how to make Friday nights better for you guys. So I had to finish my monologue this morning. And Tuesdays are really hard for me because the kiddos and my wife have something every Tuesday, and I have to like sometimes help, and I have to make a bunch of extra coffee and put it in like one of those coffee like big thermos things. So I have to make like 28 cups of coffee or something with our big coffee pot. So like my whole morning on Tuesday is rough. So I did not get a chance to record the Helldivers 2 patch notes video for the Helldivers 2 updates channel. Bro, like 130 FPS games launched today on the Android store. 30 FPS is alive and well. Out with the old. That's right. I don't think we're ready for 8K. Streaming services charge too much for 4K as it is. Right, but listen to what I'm saying, though, the Mean Joe Green. Listen, listen, listen. If you're harnessing an upscaler and AI, you're not having to harness as much raw power. That would also benefit cloud gaming. Like, you don't have to be a super duper tech aficionado to get the fact that upscaling takes some of the pressure off of the hardware, the raw hardware power. It's like, hey, you know this to be true. When you go into a game right now, I did this in Quake 3 Rocket Arena because you wanted to get the best performance. And so I turned textures off, I turned lighting off, I turned my resolution down. And what did it do? It netted me more frames per second. Now imagine if I could have done that in Quake and been like, okay, turn the resolution down. And I could have checked the box that said upscale it. So I was playing at like 720. This is a long time ago. And then, upscale it to 1080. It would have looked great. It would have looked better. And yet, I'd be putting less strain on the graphics card and on the CPU and using probably less memory. Like, I'm not an expert in how it all works, but what I do know is when you turn down resolution, it's easier for the game to run more consistently because it's requiring less raw power. Could you stream a low-res video via cloud and upscale locally? Your effective bitrate would go way up. There is technology from a company that PlayStation has partnered with that is literally attempting to do just that, Zubair. They're attempting to give upscaling technology to video streaming services that then requires less bandwidth for you to stream the movie and the TV show. The next era of digital entertainment, streaming movies, streaming TV shows, video games, is going to be heavily influenced and helped by AI upscaling. Because if you can watch something on Netflix and it takes up less bandwidth, that's a win for Netflix. That's a win for you. That's a win for streamers like myself. Like, eventually, I'm going to upgrade my streaming rig, get a video card that can do the A1 or the V1, whatever the frickin' coding it is, and then it requires much less bandwidth. Like, that's where things are headed. They're headed into in an era where upscalers are actually assisting with all of these choke points that we deal with. Cloud gaming is just a video signal. It looks the same as a movie or a TV show. It just has signals going the other way, too. AV1, thank you, Kratopsy. Right, Zubair. So think about what that company could help with, since Sony and PlayStation basically bought them / partnered with them. I forget which one it is. They either acquired them or partnered with them. Imagine what that could bring to cloud gaming. Imagine what that could bring to the PlayStation Portal. Imagine what that could bring to streaming movies and TV shows. And everyone's like, 8K is a pipe dream. Well, give me native 4K. You're not looking at the future. Like, you're thinking in the wrong realm of where things are headed. The trajectories that have been set are being set by AI technology and upscaling technology, and the two together in many ways, like AI upscaling. That's what's coming. AMD is supposedly launching an AI upscaling tech this year. Oh, they acquired that company. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that Skull game looked really good, Sven. I don't think I ever played it, though. It's a roguelike action platformer. It's a roguelike action platformer, and it has a 93% on Steam overall. In the last 30 days, it's got a 95%. So it's got a great score on Steam. Action roguelike. And a 10 bomb from Behemoth! He comes in true to his name and takes us to 66. Just like that, another 10 members coming on in. Thank you so much. Currently, guys, we have about 500 members that can come to the writer's room and Friday night streams with Madam. I would love to see that 500 bump up to a new milestone. Consider upgrading your gifted membership today. Consider upgrading your membership. If you're paying for your membership and you're still at the $5 tier, you want to bump up to the $6 tier. That gets you into streams with my wife on Fridays. We're going to be doing like a My Wife Plays thing, rage games. We're going to play one of my favorite games with 2 controllers because you can do that on the PlayStation 5. It'll be hilarious. You guys just have to hit those member goals. And the last stream of the month on Friday night's a community game night, and Creature will have to come if you guys manage to hit that goal as well. Thank you so much for being here. There are games with DLSS that look bad. Is it that? But that's not DLSS's fault, right? That might be the game's implementation of DLSS. It might be the game's fault. Stone Spire gifts another one. Thank you so much, Stone Spire, and takes us to 67. Upscale does not look as good as raw restoration, so I'm not holding my breath. Wired Rope, you really need to look at some of these videos. There's a video a guy did where he was comparing native resolutions to upscale. And so many times you're like, I can't tell the difference. As soon as he starts moving and as soon as he starts playing, it's like, you can't tell the difference. You can't. If you do like a freeze frame or like a real slow pan, you'll see it. Nobody's playing a game like that. Nobody's like, yes, you stop to take pictures or you stop to look at stuff, but upscaling is a crutch. That is such a miscategorization of what it is. It's not a crutch. It's not. I don't understand the Sony of putting a video upscaler in the PlayStation. Why wouldn't they just put it in the TV if they're better than current TV upscalers? Well, you're assuming that's where they're going to put it. I don't know where they're going to put it. I don't know where this technology would end up. The PSSR technology that's been developed for the PS5 Pro has nothing to do with aspirations for TV, like your TV. Platitude Day, say it. I mean, it is. It is just a platitude. Upscaling is a crutch. That sounds like something people are saying on like forums or Reddit or something. That doesn't sound informed. Like, that doesn't sound like something that's informed by the actual tech and how it operates and what it could potentially bring to the table. I don't think so. Again, I also think, no disrespect, I feel like you're coming from an ideological place. I feel like you're coming from an ideological place. The ideology of, I think native is superior. Why? Why? Well, it just is, okay? I think internal resolution being upscaled to 4K so that I get more consistent performance, and maybe they're allowed to turn on some of the pretty things and I still get consistent performance. I think that sounds better. Like, I think you're straining for something that's unreasonable. Give me native 4K. Sure thing, bud. We got to turn off all these other things. We got to turn off that. We got to turn this off. You're only going to get 30 FPS. Zubair says, you can have native resolution, but you're going to have to either give up eye candy or frame rate, your call, or you pay for a 4090. That's what I'm saying, Zubair. It's like, it's so ideologically driven. It's like, sure, strain and fight, scream and yell, complain, whatever you want to do. Be like, insist upon native 4K. Here you go. Here's your native 4K. We had to turn all this cool stuff off, and you're going to get less consistent frame rate. I've used DLSS and frame gen on many games, and it's not a savior. I mean, you know that's anecdotal, and you also know that some games are trying to harness it after the fact. That's not the same as your game developing with that technology in mind. You play an old game that decided to do an update. You play an old game that decided to push out a patch or a driver update or something with DLSS. That's not the same as developing games from the ground up with the understanding that you can harness an upscaler to lighten the load on the game's engine and the processing of the computer or the console to get more consistent performance. Like, that's not the same as like, well, I played some games that have retroactively gone back and tried to add in DLSS. Like, look at what they were able to do with DLSS with the Decima engine with Death Stranding. And you're going to start to realize you're insisting on something, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's like you're not actually gaining, you're losing. You are. Hybrid gold clubs are a crutch but it lets me hit 4-iron as far as you hit a traditional 4-iron. And results all that matters. I don't know anything about golf. Even a 4090 will have to turn things down with some games. That's a $2,000 GPU. I think most 40 series GPU have some type of DLSS dynamic reso to make the game look good and constantly run smooth. A dad-approved joke. Did I miss a dad joke from Hellfire? He usually does like a re-up or a super chat, so I have to read it. Why did the gamer play so many video games after his breakup? He needed to console himself. See, I'm sad that I scrolled up for that. Like, I'm actually, I think I'm gonna have to take I'm gonna take a mental health day after reading that. Can I get a recap? Okay, yeah, let me give you the recap. Sure. Okay, while I'm doing the recap, guys, do me a favor. Let's set our sights on 400 likes. Let's hit that milestone. That's always super helpful. You guys are crushing it. We could move to 75 members. I'll gift another 5. We are cruising to the 2,300 member goal. You guys are crushing it today. So let me give you a recap while you guys are doing all those things. So I went through the backstory. And the backstory is when the very, very first PS5 leaks came out, all we knew was it was going to land late 2024 and it was going to accelerate ray tracing. And I said, that's going to be market disruptive. I know developers want to do more with ray tracing. Developers are going to really want to use this thing. Then we had the word from the sort of leaks about the dev kits. We learned that they were going to be using an AI upscaler and that it was going to require minimal dev effort. This was the phrase that was used. And then once we got our hands on the dev kit leaks, we got the specifics of the percentage boosts to the memory and the GPU and the PSSR. And so once we got all of that, the most recent information that came from Insider Gaming is that if you want the PS5 Pro Enhanced label, you need to hit a certain number of things. One of the things listed was a focus on, you've got to hit this if you want the label. You need to raise the resolution. You need a constant 60 FPS. You need to increase, you don't have to, but you can maybe increase some of the ray tracing. Some games can't increase ray tracing because they don't harness it, they don't leverage it, or they're only using a little bit of it. They don't use the full suite of ray tracing, okay? So, I argue this is the death of 30 FPS, because if the market leader and the strongest console on the market is saying, if you want a PS5 enhanced label, a PS5 Pro enhanced label, we want constant 60 FPS, because bumping your game to 4K ain't going to be enough. Do you want to know why? Right now, there are plenty of 4K 30 games on the PS5. Every first-party studio gives me a 4K 30 mode. So, hey, we bumped our resolution to 4K. Can we get the label? No, because there's plenty of 4K 30 games right now on the standard PS5. If you want to bump up to 4K using the upscaler, great. Do it in a way that you can get 60 FPS, a constant 60 FPS. The phrase, a constant 60 FPS was used. So to me, that's the death of 30 FPS. And the fact that the PSSR, I agree it needs a name change. It looks like you're writing like shorthand for pisser, like what in the world? And that technology, that PSSR technology, is targeting 4K 120 and 8K 60 beyond the PS5 Pro, which I think is a glimpse into where they want to go with the PS6. They want this technology to be transcendent. And oh, this is such a beautiful idea. I want you to really think about this. We've talked a lot about cross-generation games holding games back. Okay? True to a point, also not true in the way that most people were saying it and most people were invoking the idea. PlayStation, under this leadership of Mark Cerny, may have just come up with a way of there always being a bridge between the generations, and it's the PSSR technology. Because if developers get really, really good at harnessing this upscaler and this technology to boost performance, guess what's going to happen when that same technology is present on a PS6? They're going to be very familiar with it. They're going to understand how to navigate it. They're going to understand like, hey, we can start hitting higher frames. We can start hitting higher performance. We can start doing more. Ray tracing just added a whole bunch of new stuff that we've been using, and we really like it, and we can actually do it now. They're going to be very familiar with that technology, and guess what? It's present on the next console. That, to me, is the 900 IQ play that's happening here that not very many people are paying attention to. They're just talking about the PS5 Pro and GTA 6. They're not paying attention to the fact that they have baked into this technology a transcendent aspect of this is going to be present on the next console to boost performance again, giving them a more seamless transition from generation to generation. So when they hand a PS6 dev kit to studios, they're not like, oh man, we got to completely change all of our plans now. That's your recap. with a little added stuff in there. I didn't talk about the PSSR technology helping games be more transcendent between generations until just now. That just kind of hit me like a lightning bolt. I'm sorry for lighting up Hellfire. You're fine. Rich Rod with a $5 super chat tip. Why did Spider-Man pass his road test? He's a great parallel parker. Okay, listen. I don't want to do the dad joke super chat thing. Please don't. I mean, this is not reverse psychology. Please stop. Please stop. I'm not sure if this has been discussed, but would this have had any effect on PC ports? If they're upscaling and increasing frame rate, would that translate to better ports? Well, I don't know, Valiant. Because we know AMD wants to launch their own AI upscaling this year. I don't know if they partnered with Mark Cerny or PlayStation, and maybe they learned from whatever this PSSR technology is. Here's the challenge, though. Porting a game to PC, you got to think about NVIDIA cards and DLSS. Now, the hope would be that it's a similar language, right? Like Spanish and Portuguese. Hopefully there's a lot of overlap so that when a developer says, oh, we did all this stuff to harness the PSSR over here, and it's kind of similar to what we can do with DLSS. I'm speaking in hopeful language here. I don't know if that's even remotely possible. That's going to be an issue. NVIDIA cards and NVIDIA as a company, they're crushing it right now. So there's a ton of people with gaming rigs that are going to be like, I need your PlayStation ported game to run well on my NVIDIA card. If Nixus is at the helm, I have no concerns. The Horizon Forbidden West port is receiving heaps of praise. But that's all going to change potentially when you start harnessing the power of the PSSR upscaler in the PlayStation 5 Pro. And you're like, well, we got to bring the game to NVIDIA cards now. That would be pretty incredible inside track if AMD can say their cards play PC ports better. But yep. How do you start to make yourself look a little bit better in the market? You say, PlayStation Studio games are really great, aren't they? Yeah, well, their ports are going to be more optimized for our cards. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but maybe that's a potential. I don't know. Bear says, it should be possible. You build in the hooks for the tech, and then the upscalers all use the same hooks. Right, like I said, if there's enough language similarity there, then you could say, oh yeah, our port's going to be amazing because we're already very adept with leveraging an upscaler. We already know how that, we're already accustomed to that. Our game is kind of built with that in mind. So PSSR in the PlayStation and DLSS, developers could say, this is fantastic. That's why I don't understand why developers at GDC were like, what's the point of a PS5 Pro? And it's like, you can just tell us you don't have a dev kit yet. There's other ways to tell us that. Like, I have a hard time believing developers got their hand on a dev kit that's going to enable them to get more performance out of their game with minimal effort, leaning on an upscaler of technology that they didn't develop, and then being like, I don't understand the point of this. Like, there's other ways to admit you don't have a PS5 Pro dev kit yet. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. The reports that we've been getting from Insider Gaming about what some of these game companies have been able to do with the PS5 Pro dev kit, there's no way developers are like, I just don't see the point in that. Like, come on. Of course they're saying that now. They don't have their hands on it yet. And like I said in the show open, get to work. We're 4 years into the gen. What do you mean we haven't tapped in to the full power of the PS5 yet? Then what are you doing? What are you doing? We're 4 years into the gen. Get to work. You've had the dev kits for longer than that. You've had the standard PS5 dev kit for more than 4 years. What are you doing? Oh, yeah, we haven't really harnessed the power of the PS5 yet. Well, then get to work. What are you doing? I'm seeing great things out of Burning Shores and Spider-Man 2. What are you talking about? Yoshi P's talking like Final Fantasy 16 is going to show you the power of the PS5. What do you mean they're not harnessing the full power of it yet? That sounds like a bunch of hooey to me. Yeah. What you going to say that in 2 years? We're 6 years into the life cycle of the console. Yeah, we still haven't tapped into the full power of it yet. Well, figure it out. How wild would this be? Hear me out. That when the Pro comes out, all of a sudden other games start using frame generation on the Series X, like they were waiting for Sony. They're waiting for the tools. Those tools got lost in the mail, and some of them started podcasts. Hey-o! This is also a way PlayStation can get away with having the previous gen COD for a year without having to give Xbox dev kits before it launches. Spider-Man 2 is not the best example, neither is Final Fantasy 16. No, you don't understand why I cited Final Fantasy 16. It showed the power of the PS5 1440-30. Yes, let's cherry pick and ignore all of the first-party games that did just fine with performance modes and stable 60 FPS. Sure, let's go to a non-first-party game that decided to not give us dynamic resolution because it maintained 60 FPS in all of the combat. Yes, let's cherry pick. That's common from the side that likes to be critical of these things. Let's not represent things holistically. I actually cited Final Fantasy 16 very intentionally. I was told by one of the biggest names in the business that that game was going to really show off the power of the PS5. And they pushed things too far, didn't give us a great version of FSR, so we don't get 60 FPS when we're in a town or when we're walking around exploring. Now, graphically, Final Fantasy 16 has, 10 minutes of praise from Digital Foundry, but yes, we're going to take 30 seconds to 60 seconds of time dedicated to performance mode, inconsistent frame rate in performance mode, and the internal resolution dropping in one of the biggest fights, one of the biggest cinematic fights in the game. Let's cherry pick that and ignore the 10 minutes of praise that Digital Foundry heaped on Final Fantasy 16 to paint a false notion. I was pointing out the fact that if this guy's saying we're showing off the power of the PS5, then why are people saying we haven't tapped into the full power of the PS5 yet? You mentioned it, not me. I intentionally mentioned it to show if this guy's saying they're going to show off the power of the PS5 and they didn't even give us 60 FPS everywhere, then why are developers saying we still haven't tapped into the full power? Then what the heck did Square Enix do? Somebody's lying. Either Square Enix didn't really show off the power of the PlayStation 5, which I believe they did. They just didn't give us dynamic resolution and a better version of FSR. That's what I believe they did. They made a choice internally to not, and maybe that was a development pipeline thing. Maybe they didn't have the opportunity to upgrade the FSR. I don't know. I was literally citing that intentionally to say, somebody's not telling the truth here. We've got Burning Shores. I think Spider-Man 2 is a fantastic display of the power of the PS5. With the instantaneous loading, the incredibly fast way that you can traverse through that city, and it all runs seamlessly. And the graphics and the water and the lighting, to pretend as if Spider-Man 2 does not show off literally everything that we hope to get from the PlayStation 5, I think that you're kidding yourself. Yes, and the quality mode in Final Fantasy 16 is gorgeous and it runs really well. I just don't want to play 30 FPS games. Again, Digital Foundry poured out heaps of praise on Final Fantasy 16. John Linneman encouraged people to just play it on quality mode. He's like, it's fine, and don't turn motion blur off. Because, listen, I like John Linneman. I respect a lot of his opinions, but nobody's perfect, okay? Promoting 30 FPS and motion blur, John, I'm not sure what happened or how the aliens are controlling you, but that's bonkers. God love you, John, but I don't know what you're talking about. Don't turn off motion blur. And 30 FPS is fine. Oh, no and no. Two big no's. What did that game struggle with performance? It didn't even struggle with performance. They just turn off dynamic resolution, Zuby. It's so frustrating. Like, when I play Final Fantasy 16 and I'm in a crazy icon fight, or I'm in like a multi-person fight or a boss fight, it looks and runs beautifully. It looks and runs beautifully. And then the minute I'm not in combat, I'm like, where'd my dynamic resolution go? What the heck? It's literally an artistic choice. And a stupid one at that. It's a stupid choice because it's not like it drops from 60 to a stable 30. It's all over the place. It's in the 40s, it's in the 50s, it's in the 30s. It looks terrible. It literally looks like something's going wrong. You're like, is what game having a memory leak? Oh my gosh. I think he said blur off. No, he said to leave blur. Listen, I don't want to misquote the man. I swear to you, he said to leave the motion blur on in that game. He even tweeted recently about that. Like, 30 FPS is fine for some games, and I believe he's like, don't turn motion blur off. Maybe I'm having a fever dream and I'm misquoting him. I don't want to misquote him. I swear to you, he has said things like that. I hate motion blur. Devs have always asked for more power. Now Sony gives them it, and suddenly it's not warranted. Something ain't right. Yeah, it's almost like there's a portion of the gaming community and the gaming press who have to run FUD for relevancy. Right? You have to use fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Outside of that, you have no relevancy. Kind of like people that have to lean on other content creators for relevancy because they're not interesting enough, right? Creatively impotent people. They're very similar, by the way. Like, there is not an interest and an intrigue enough in them or their perspective or their opinion or their content, so they have to leverage fear, uncertainty, and doubt and pessimism and negativity, because if they would just give you the cold hard facts, that's not as interesting. Like, giving you the cold hard facts and me telling you, I think 30 FPS is dead. I think you can paint a very clear picture and trajectory here of where things are headed. Oh, yeah, I just don't know, man. I think we're going to get a lot more 30 FPS games. I just don't think these consoles are strong enough, man. I just thought the PS5 Pro just doesn't seem necessary. I just think the Series S can run circles around PS5. Okay. All right, cool. Those perspectives aren't perspectives. It's nothing. It's just fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's just pessimism. It's just negativity. It's just falsehood. It's just spin. There's nothing real there. We've looked into how many 30 FPS games have come out. There's not many, and the few that did it have tried to push out 60 FPS modes or apologized or tried to keep it quiet. It's not a growing trend. It's not evidence that these consoles aren't strong enough. Those are just lies. Did you see what I sent in the Discord this morning about what this person said? Yeah, I don't really care. I don't really pay attention to people that I don't respect. You don't need a 2K TV to see the advantage of the modes that these games have. Right. To me, we are on the same set of train tracks that we have always been on. The new technology is going to push performance forward. We're on the same set of train tracks. And you got detractors on the sideline saying, oh no, not worth it. We're going to get more 30 FPS games. Just ignore those people. They're the same people that said that the Series S would run circles around the PlayStation 5. Why would you listen to people that are so completely out of touch or so clearly driving a narrative? Like, why listen to them? We were promised all this great performance bumps on the PS5, and I got them. I was promised no more loading screens. Got that. I was promised 60 FPS. Got that. I was promised better graphics and performance and better lighting. Got that. I was promised bigger games. Got that. Like, in the 4 years that I've had my PS5, on 2 occasions, I've gotten... on 2 occasions, I have gotten extremely frustrated with an exclusive that didn't hit what I thought that it should hit. Final Fantasy 16 and Rise of the Ronin. Those games, in my opinion, you should not be defending their performance issues. No. You made your game for one system. This is inexcusable. This is a lack of optimization. This is a lack of prioritizing what this console and what portions of its user base prioritize. It's not something that should be excused away. It isn't. Ronin should not look worse, arguably, and run worse than Ghost of Tsushima. That's a joke. Final Fantasy 16 should not have taken away dynamic resolution when exploring and going into towns. Don't tell me you're giving me a performance mode when it's just a combat performance mode. That's not a performance mode, okay? So, we're on the same set of train tracks. There's been 2 exclusives that I have kind of taken to task for not giving me what the platform promised. Every other game I purchased has given me exactly what I hoped to get. Since when is a $1,500 a cheap TV? Who's saying that? Not true at all. All those nice OLED TVs, LGs, and under 2,000 as well. You talking with Jake? Not true at all. All the real nice OLED TVs from LG are under 2,000. TV prices are legit one of the few things that seem to be reasonable. Eugene, it's definitely not. $1,500 for a TV gets you so much. What? A fifth? Are you? Hang on. I want to understand what you're saying before I fly off here. Are you saying that a $1,500 TV only gets you so much? Like you're saying that that's not like a really good... Oh, you're agreeing with Eugene. Oh, okay. Okay, Jake's agreeing with Eugene. I was like, what the heck? I was like, that's a really good TV. Oh, someone with the name Albania. Okay, what are they arguing? Okay, here we go. I want to see what they're saying. I love this chat history feature. Okay. Axis lies. A $3,000 LG OLED has the real effects of those modes, not those cheap TVs. VRR, HDR, etc. on a $3,000 LG OLED is 1,000 times better than those settings on a cheap TV with those modes. Can you establish why that is instead of just making the claim? Excuse me. Jake, issue is devs know that those hardcore gamers, mass market doesn't have those TVs. Why would devs care to make perfect HDR if only a niche are going to see it? The mass market does not play on OLED $2,000 TVs. Zubair, it turns out Zubair was right. About what? I'm not able to go back up to that message. It didn't take me to the right place. Oh, December the 12th? Looks like Zuby was right. I would bet that any game with the performance mode on the PS5 would have comparable frame rates in the quality mode on the Pro. I don't know what message you're trying to take me back to, Paris. Discord's acting drunk. Why are you saying LOL December 12th looks like Zuby was right? Zuby Tech, not Zubair. I know who you're referring to. Yeah. What's December the 12th? Thank you, Fuzzy. I could not get to that message. I was clicking and it was taking me to different messages. Like, Discord was drunk. Okay, PS5 Pro versus the PS5. Smaller CPU architecture, more power efficiency, less thermal demand. CPU max speed plus 30%. GPU using the newest AMD architecture, includes beefed up ray tracing and AI type enhancement features. GPU getting 2 times in hardware ray tracing. GPU max speed plus 12%. GPU max bandwidth plus 40% to 280%. Unclear wording. RAM speed, bandwidth, internal SSD shipping. Okay, I don't know what any of that is. Those are just a bunch of stats. December 12th was the last time you streamed about this topic and the specs still line up. Oh, okay, now I was like, what are you saying, Parasito? Okay, this is not, no, the last time we talked about this was not December the 12th. We've done a couple of PlayStation 5 Pro streams this year, so YouTube search is being stupid, if that's the conclusion that you came to. When I go to my live shows and I go PS5 Pro, we did a PS5 Pro specs stream on March the 18th. We did one on February the 27th, and we did one on January the 4th. I don't even know what December the 12th. I didn't do a stream on December the 12th about the PS5 Pro. I don't know what we were talking about. Lotus Esprit with the $10 super chat tip says, so ready for the PS5 Pro. Good to see you, Lotus. Oh, let me do this. For the last 20 minutes of the stream, let's go members only. Let's go members only on the chat. This is a great opportunity for you guys to leverage the fact that you may have gotten a gifted membership. This is a great time to continue gifting members and giving more people the opportunity. You can now ask me more general questions about gaming if you don't feel like continuing to talk and discuss the PS5 Pro specs and the fact that 30 FPS games are dead. In 20 minutes, In 20 minutes, we're going to go to an upload. I'm going to interact with the claim that Phil Spencer has killed Xbox. I'm going to argue that he has not. I think that's a ludicrous claim, but there are people that are saying that. And Rinsler gifts a member and pulls Marsupial in to the group. 68 members on the day. We are working on a member goal this week. We are well over 2,100, and we're on our way. We're setting our sights on 2,300 members, so thank you, Rinsler. My bad then, but yeah, the spec leaks in December are still holding true. Might have been a writer's room. Yeah, that might have been it, Paris. We might have been debating doing a show. I think, I remember now, Paris. I remember. That was a writer's room. It might have been a writer's room. Let's look at the timestamp of when you said it. Lotus Esprit with a 5 spot. Yeah, look at the timestamp, Paris. 4:43. That was at the end of the day. We were debating about doing a PlayStation 5 Pro stream, and I remember we said we were going to wait because Tommy Hendy said once we get in the new year, the dev kits are going to be out and the leaks are going to come. 5 spot from Lotus. Thank you so much, taking us up to 73 members on the day. A nice banner day for the channel. Appreciate you guys so much. Just 2 away from 75, and I'll get 5 more. Yeah, we were considering doing a show, Paris, and I remember saying, let's wait. I was like, we're gonna do the show, and then in like 2 weeks, the dev kits are gonna leak, and we're gonna be like, here's all the facts. So we decided to wait. I think we made the right choice. I think our PlayStation 5 Pro coverage has been better because we waited for the more reliable, more corroborated leaks. CPU is only 10% faster, but has 1 gig more RAM, custom GPU, so it's not clear how the Pro can work on CPU-heavy games, probably more than just 10%. Yeah, a lot of people, I think, are making the mistake, are being like, oh, it's only 10%, it's going to be a CPU bottleneck, and they're looking at modular upgrades to, CPUs, to computers, to PCs. Getting that level of an update in a closed system where everything can be more fine-tuned and optimized. We are currently at 2150. 2150. You guys are 50 away from 2200. So thank you so much for the support today. Zubair needs to explain his theory he gave to me on the PS5 upscaling. Zubair says, I've got a C2 and it's a wonderful experience. Okay, yeah, Zuby, what's your theory here? Hey, Lono, have you heard any news about Borderlands 4? Like, where are they with it? We literally just did a show yesterday on this channel about Borderlands 4. T-Man Grove gifts a member, takes us to 74. Who's going to take the glory of the 75th member? Remember, you guys don't have to wait for a gifted member. You can click join. When you click join, be sure to click the $6 tier. 5's reserved for gifted. The $5 tier is reserved for gifted members, so make sure you pick 6 if you pick up your own membership. You don't have to wait for gifted. You can pick up your own. Yeah, we did a show just yesterday about Borderlands 4 with Kirk, and it's confirmed to be in production. And Ray, the Noblesse, or I'm not sure how to say that, the Noblesse, thank you so much. And Stone Spire, that's a 5, that's a single, and a single. That's 7 members out of nowhere. That's going to take us to 81 members, just like that. And I don't even know. Ray was basically the Noblesse. That was our agent of chaos because you pushed us well past. So now the next time I have to gift is 100, and I'm going to wait. That's not spaced properly. And there we go. That's spaced properly. I owe you guys 5. Here's the 5 that I owe you. I want to read this thing that Zuby put. Let's see what he's got to say. FSR 3 separated frame gen from upscaler, which means that AMD frame gen can work with any upscaler, including PSSR. I expect 120 FPS with frame gen on a lot of games on the Pro. Really, Zubair? Basically using 2 upscaling techniques at once. FSR 3 separated the frame gen from the upscaler, which means that AMD frame gen can work with any upscaler, including PSSR. I really wonder if, like you said earlier, Zuby, that they exchange notes, like PlayStation and AMD. They worked on this together. You know what I mean? Like, is that why? Is that why they did that? Is that part of the plan here? Using one upscaler with separate frame gen. Naming conventions are awful. So what you're saying is that the frame gen technology could dovetail with the upscaler. They're different technology that could complement each other. And the upscaler is running with a dedicated AI accelerator, says Parasito. They said Jedi Survivor ran 4K 120. Okay, Alex from Digital Foundry called that a clown take. I don't know if we can take that claim to the bank. He seemed to think that was ludicrous. 4K 120 isn't even remotely what they're promising this gen. They're promising 4K 60. They want to do 4K 120 long term with PSSR, which is likely what they're targeting for the PlayStation 6. So, LG is by no means a slouch. Their G series is a killer and competes well. Just don't like the color performance compared to the QD. Also, their input lag in gaming is still a couple milliseconds behind. Okay. Not sure if he wants it or he's cognizant of the reality that publishers want it. Yeah. The headline was older NVIDIA GPUs were going to get frame gen from AMD to go with their DLSS upscaling. Huh. Jedi Survivor was cross-gen? Not sure. I mean, Jedi Survivor still has performance issues. Right? Jedi Survivor still has performance issues. So it's like, I don't know if you're suddenly going to see this, this massive uptick in performance for that game especially. Especially if the Pro could get 80 FPS on its own. I'm late to Xbox, probably getting... I'm late, but Xbox is probably getting frame gen from FSR as well, based on talk on Digital Foundry a week or so ago discussing. I posted about it in members chat when it happened. Okay, so what's that? What do you think that does for them long term? Do you think they could start to... I mean, what does that do for, like, the Series S? Because, like, right now, if you're trying to develop a game like, let's say Hellblade 2, and we're really hoping for good performance of Hellblade 2 on the Series X, at least I am. Like, I'm really hoping I do not have to retreat to my PC to play that game and get 60 FPS. I'm really hoping I can get solid performance on my Series X, because I believe the Series X is a great piece of machinery. I just don't think it doesn't get any games optimized for it. You can't optimize a game for the Series X when you're always launching on PC and the Series S. Like, Series X is not ever going to get that. It's not a priority. And so, obviously I'm a little bit worried there. But what would that mean if they're able to do that? Are they going to be able to get a resurgence of performance on these boxes? Like the Series S being the one that I'd be more concerned about. Series S and X are going to get minimal help from this tech. If any, you can't roll out a software update to add a piece of hardware. Problem is, currently, you still want to hit 60 FPS. Single gifted from Patrick Q. He's like, come on, boys. I believe we can hit 100. 100 members a day is amazing. We'll surely hit the goals for the month for the Rage game or Community Game Night with Creature if we keep going like we're going today. Thank you so much. Ashton with 31 months. Surely they'll release Bloodborne Remake this console, right? No. No, they won't. They won't. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's not happening, bro. It isn't. Oh my gosh. Let me give you guys a member count and see how close we are. You guys crushed it today. And I've got my own 15 in the mix as well. So that should be about 116 net member gain today, roughly, because I'm looking on the back end. Some of you guys are renewing and actually jumping back in the pool. 2163. We're getting really close to 2200 already. Siege Master comes in and gifts a member. Thank you so much. Takes us to 83 members on the day. Easily single gift it. Over the next 9 minutes. Over the next 9 minutes, we could easily single gift it all the way there. All right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go schedule this video as a premiere, and we're going to say tomorrow at noon so you guys don't get the noti. And we're going to say ambient, and we're going to say, hang on. We have an upload coming. We've not done an upload in a while, but we want to start doing them again, and so we hope this one gets some support today. I didn't really want to do a talk show about whether or not Phil killed Xbox, but I wanted to react to the notion because I do not agree with it. Preview today at 12:15. Eugene says, full comment, if Survivor is 60 now on the PS5, let's say the Pro can take it to 80, I don't think it's ludicrous that FrameGen could take it to 120. I mean, listen, I'm here for it. I am. I just don't buy into a lot of these claims this early on. I'm like, everything we've heard from the leaks all sounds like pretty believable. It all sounds pretty basic, right? It does. It all sounds pretty basic. Okay. It's like, okay, that sounds like something that would be possible. Yo, what is happening? A 10 bomb from Darius and a 10 bomb from Lotus Esprit. They tag team the 10 bombs for 20. That takes us to 103 and then 104 because Stone Spire just can't be stopped today with the single gifteds. Unbelievable. All right, let me save this. It's tomorrow at noon. You guys did it. Oh my gosh. All right, hang on. Schedule. There's no such thing as a slowdown in this community, dude. We're like, nah, we've got it. We've got it. Let me set up this redirect. Why the frick can I not redirect yet? Come on, YouTube. Come to life here. Yo, Jareth with 9 months as a member. Thanks for your unbiased take on the gaming industry, Lono. It's refreshing to be part of a respective community. Keep on keeping on. And a 10 bomb from the Green Monster. He comes in and says we're not done yet and takes us to 114. I haven't had a chance to do my 5. I owe you guys 5. If you can get it to 125, I'm going to owe you a 10 bomb. I'm sitting over here trying to schedule streams and videos and stuff. You guys are crazy. And let's do it today at noon. All right, premiere goes live at noon. And a 10 bomb from Javier Cotto. He comes in and says, we're going to be 1 away from 125. The man himself. My favorite name. Such a fun name to shout for the gifted members. You're the man. You guys are bringing the heat. Here it comes. It's the turnaround time. It's the redemption story of the member count. We're going to be hitting these goals all month. I can feel it. I can feel it. Now we just need folks. We just need folks to start catching the vision and upgrading, man. If you get it gifted and you try it out and you love it, man, bump up. Bump up. Get into our Discord. Get into those writers' rooms. Get to see how the bread is made, how we plan a show, how I outline my monologues. And Stone Spire takes it home to 125. His single gifted magic today. He sprinkled it on the chat. But Darius Ward says, I'm going to be the agent of chaos. And he takes it to 126. Let me just drop this 10 bomb that I owe you now. You guys brought the heat today. In layman's terms, PSSR is basically just anti-aliasing on steroids. Being able to separate that from other improvements means there's not much of a tether between the quality and the quantity of the frames. And is that a good thing? Like, talk to me. You said in layman's terms, but then it still is. I still feel like that hurt my brain a little bit. I still feel like that hurt my brain a teeny bit. That's a great thing. Okay, well, good. I don't know what. Thank you guys so much. In 4 minutes, we're going to go to this video. about did Phil Spencer kill Xbox? Preacher, did we do a short for this? We did a short for this, didn't we? Do you have a tweet as well for the Phil Spencer video? With the video? I can't remember if that's what... I'm assuming that's what we're doing, but I don't want to assume. Do I need to send a tweet or do you have it? This... Oh, the short is scheduled... Oh, to go live right at the same time. Excellent. Excellent. I love when we make this much content in a single day. It just feels so freaking good. A stream, a short, a stream, a short, an upload, a short. We got videos hitting the Reforge 2 channel. We've got videos hitting Helldivers channel. We're freaking... Our output's great. For your consumption or leisure, some interesting points made from the stance that motion blur is good or bad. Right, John Linneman, he believes that motion blur is worth using in Final Fantasy 16. Does he not? I swear to you, I swear he thinks that. And if he makes a case for it, I'd be interested in watching it and then still never turning on motion blur. I'd be interested in watching what he has to say and then still just never turning it on, you know? Let me check Twitter and see if we've got a scheduled tweet here. He might have already sent it. Let me see. Drafts, scheduled. Yep, he does. He's got it scheduled for today at noon. Excellent. Cranking it out, dude. All right, guys, in 2 minutes, we're going to this video. Phil Spencer killed Xbox, or did he save it? And could we get 3 more likes on the video? 400 likes is going to be incredible. What a great turnout. What a great stream. Appreciate you guys so much. Imagine a car where you can take the kids to soccer or pull an RV trailer while still getting to pick exactly how fast you can go without worrying about being weighed down. I mean, that makes sense to me as a dad. I'm not a car guy, but that makes sense. I get that. That speaks to the part of my brain that's like, what? Like, I got it. I'm there. I'm with you. I understand now. I'm excited. I am very excited. Okay, I am going to spam a link in chat. Guys, do me a favor. Do me a favor. When we go over to this premiere and you get over there, man, smash that like button. Make sure it saves your like button. There's like a little intro that plays. I'm all paid up on all the members that I owe you. Thank you for a stellar day. Let me give you a last second member count so that you know where we stand. We're trying to get 2,300 this week. And then Madam and I will play a rage game. We'll see who can get the farthest in it. 2217. Oh my gosh. Really close to 2,300. Excellent. Tomorrow, we could easily hit 2,300. No sweat, no problem. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you so much. I'm going to spam a link in chat. Let's get out of here. Let's head over to this premiere. I'm also going to redirect you. If redirect doesn't work, there's a link in chat. If you somehow miss that, it'll be the featured video on the channel. And then when we're done with that, the Phil Spencer video is going to send everybody into the writer's room. Upgrade to that $6 tier. We want to see more people at that tier. Currently, only about 500 people can come to the writer's room. I would love for that to hit a new milestone of 600. Let's chase that. Let's get some more people upgrading, get in that Discord, play Helldivers with people. I'll see you over there in the premiere.